Board of Trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District is called to order at 6:30 p.m. This is the regular monthly board meeting being held on April 18th, 2023. As you can see in the audience, this is a very celebration-heavy meeting. We have a lot going on in LCISD that is great, and we're so glad that you could be here. We have a quorum with 5 members present. Mrs. Brunzell and Mrs. Williams are absent. Please join me in a moment of silence to observe as you feel appropriate. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Pledge of the Texas flag, led by Ryan Middle School 6th grader Drew James.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much, Drew. Great job, Drew. Dr. Nivens, are there any recognitions or awards?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, we have quite a few recognitions and awards. I'll turn it over to Ms. Sonia Cole-Hamilton.
Good evening. Thank you. Good evening, parents and guests. We are going to recognize several outstanding students this evening, and in order to ensure an efficient recognition experience, we do ask that you refrain from coming forward to take photos. Our amazing district photographer, Mr. Justin Terry, will be taking the official photos this evening, and his photos will be published to the board page of the district website later this week. In addition, we have the QR code on the screen that you may scan for quick access to the photo landing page. Trustees and Dr. Nivens, thank you for taking your places. And tonight, we have the honor of recognizing Angelina Vitale from Polly Ryan Middle School. Angelina is a member of the Kickstart program and competed as a member of the demo team in their first ever competition. Polly Ryan finished second as a team in the competition, and Angelina qualified to compete at the KSK State Tournament in April. Angelina is joined tonight by Sensei Barras and Polly Ryan principal, Dr. Stacy Johnson, and her parents, Roberto Vitale and Sabrina Liu. Angelina will now be performing her kata to demonstrate some of the things she has learned through Kickstart. So we'll give Angelina an opportunity to perform for us. Angelina, thank you for the demonstration. You may now receive honors from the Board of Trustees. You can shake their hands. Sensei. Congratulations. Tonight, we will also recognize members of the Fulshire High School girls swim team. This season, the Charger girls claimed the district championship, regional championship, and capped their season by finishing as the 4th best team in the state of Texas. The Chargers were led by outstanding performances from the following swimmers: Avery Dillon, who claimed the bronze medal in the 200-yard freestyle and the silver medal in the 500-yard freestyle; Kaylee Kennedy, who claimed the bronze medal in the 50-yard freestyle and the 100-yard breaststroke. In addition to those individual medals, Avery and Kaylee were joined, you can go back, yeah, there you go. We're joined by Emma Nowotny and Ellie Paisley on the bronze medal 400-yard freestyle relay team, as well as a 200-yard freestyle state championship gold medal team. The Chargers are coached by Matt Thomas, and the Fulshire High School principal is Dan Ward. If the families of these swimmers are with us tonight, would you please stand so we can applaud you as well? Any families? Yeah. Need a photo? Congratulations, ladies, on your record-breaking season. We are joined this evening by one of the most elite cheerleaders in the state of Texas, Kylie Muth. She's a senior from George Ranch High School. She was recently awarded the title of the 5A and 6A Cheerleader of the Year by the Texas Girls Coaches Association. JT, go ahead and take a photo. Kylie has been a member of the Longhorn Cheer Program for 4 years, and she served as team captain. Kylie was chosen for this award from all the nominees in both 5A and 6A classifications in the state of Texas based on her athletic performance, leadership ability, outstanding attitude, and citizenship. Kylie will continue her athletic career at Texas State University as a member of the cheer team. George Ranch High School is led by Principal Heather Patterson, and the Longhorn Cheer Program is under the direction of assistant coaches Terry Heido, Deborah Byers, and head coach Kyra Scalpel. In addition to Kylie's recognition as a cheerleader, the head coach was also selected as the Texas Girls Coach Association to coach the Blue 5A and 6A All-Stars at this summer state conference. She is one of the 2 All-Star coaches for this division from across the state. And could the friends and families of both outstanding representatives from George Ranch High School please stand to be recognized? Okay, got the photo? Okay, cool. Thank you so much. All right, now let's talk about CTE. And I am proud to announce that we have some exciting recognitions from the CTE department tonight. Our career and technical students organizations have been busy competing these last couple of months at the regional and state levels. And we've got some really talented students and advisors in Lamar CISD. And tonight we're going to recognize our national qualifiers. DECA is a CTSO associated with the Business and Marketing Programs of Study in Lamar CISD. DECA prepares emerging leaders and entrepreneurs for careers in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management in high schools and colleges around the globe. In March, 72 students from Foster, Lamar Consolidated, George Ranch, and Fulshire High Schools competed in Dallas at the Texas DECA State Competition, along with 5,300 other students from across the state. We're very proud of those who competed, and we want to recognize those who have advanced to internationals. So from Foster High School, we've got Ben Bolding, who advanced in Sport and Entertainment Operations Research, Jaden Ogala, who advanced in Business Finance Series, Luis Navarez, Sofia Trujillo, and Parker Mullinax, who earned gold level certification for the school-based enterprise competition. Congratulations to the Foster team. All right, and from George Ranch High School, we have Philip Hall, Gia-Lee McLean, Rachel Steba, who will be representing for George Ranch DECA for the school-based enterprise competition. Unfortunately, the 2 authors for the gold recertification, Manuel Suhair and Uman Khan, were unable to attend tonight's meeting, so congratulations to this George Ranch team. Thank you so much. Skills USA is a CTSO associated with Lamar CISD's culinary law construction programs of study with the mission to empower its members to become world-class workers and leaders. Tonight, we are proud to recognize Gabrielle Douglas from Foster High School for her state win and advancing to national competition and job demonstration. We're equally proud of Lamar Consolidated High School's two-time defending champions in building search. This consisted of Bria Lawson, Melanie Garcia, Jake Hoffman, and Philip Rojales. And state competition is the highest level of achievement for this particular event, and under the guidance of Dr. Fred Guest, Lamar CHS is known across the state as the team to beat. Congratulations, students. So FFA is a CTSO attached to our Ag, Food, and Natural Resources Program of Study. The CTSO prepares its members for leadership and careers in the science, business, and technology of agriculture. These students compete year-round in multiple competitions, and we congratulate Jade Villa from Lamar CHS FFA, who placed first at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo in the heavyweight ABC steer division, and Kaylin Leggett from Foster High School for being selected the reserve lightweight shorthorn steer division champion. We also recognize the following students who advanced to the state level career development event competition for their selected events. From George Ranch FFA in the area of dairy cattle evaluation, Pamela Brown, Ryan Gutierrez, Lily Edwards, and Rebecca Brown. And from Fulshire High School in the area of veterinarian science, we've got Salin Locke, Alexandra Hausman, McKinley Poland, and Olivia Kiss. Good job, congratulations. And lastly, we've got our HOSA, that's a CTSO associated with our Health Science Program of Study. This is a global student-led organization that actively promotes career opportunities in the health industry. From Foster High School, tonight we are recognizing Rian Al-Nakabi, placing first in the state Cultural Diversity and Disparities event. From Fulshire High School, we've got Jifa Ajay, an 11th grader for current healthcare issues. Sajid Famid, an 11th grader for medical terminology. We've got Swayam Shiroya, a 10th grader for medical terminology. From Randall High School, these students ranked in the top 10% of 400 students who competed in their event, and they advanced to state back in November and studied many hours to prepare this past March. We have Irene Bond, Ari Jimenez, Malik Johnson, Dalen Rowe, Amin Lakhani. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for these students, and would the parents of any of our CTE students please stand tonight? With it, DECA, FFA, HOSA, yes, stand up, thank you. Thank you, students, you may be seated. Trustees, these are all of our recognitions at this time.
All right, Dr. Nivens, are there any introductions?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, we have some introductions. Mr. Bates.
All right, good evening, Board of Trustees. Thank you, Dr. Nivens. Tonight, I bring to you for recognition the new Associate Principal of George Ranch High School for the 2023-24 school year, Mrs. Carrie Yanta. Mrs. Yanta was born and raised in Houston, Texas. She is a first-generation college graduate. Carrie received her bachelor's degree from Texas A&M and her master's degree from the University of Houston. Mrs. Yanta has a total of 12 years of experience as a teacher, academic facilitator, and an instructional coordinator. She currently serves as an assistant principal at George Ranch High School. Attending tonight with Ms. Yanta is her husband, Michael, and her son, Colton. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the new Associate Principal of George Ranch High School, Mrs. Carrie Yanta. President Hunt, that concludes all introductions tonight.
Thank you. Are there any board member reports? Mr. Welch?
Yeah, I've been out and about in the district. First thing I was done since the last meeting was I went to Phelan Elementary to see the campus again. I hadn't been there since the dedication, so I want to thank Principal Croft for hosting me that morning and walking me around. Then I attended the Williams Elementary STEM Night. I went to a district-wide track and field event that was held over at Terry High School on a very windy afternoon. I also participated in the Gulf Coast Regional Blood Drive that was held right here in this building for staff and employees of the district. Then I went to the International Night at Wright Junior High. I also attended the Central Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce's CTE graduation dinner that was held for Lamar CISD students. It was held at Safari, Texas. And the last thing that I'll make note of right now is I went to the Katy Area Chamber of Commerce Future of Education Luncheon, and that featured TEA Commissioner Mike Morath. And Lamar was very well represented. We had 2 tables in that room, and I believe there was probably about, 15 tables or so. So we had a very good representation of the board and district administration, so.
Yeah, it has been very busy time here in Lamar Consolidated. When I was a teacher, the April and May, I always felt like everything was coming up at once, and it hasn't changed as a board member, so here we go. Beginning of the month, I was able to go with several other board members too to the Spring Book Festival at Foster High School, where I think it said, I saw today over 3,000 students participated, or 3,000 people came. And I know this was the second year of doing this, and it was just, if you didn't go, and it was incredible. It was put on by the the librarians, and the brainchild of the librarian from McNeil, Kimberly Helm. But they had all the librarians there, they had GT facilitators there, they had technology crew there, they had volunteer students there. They highlighted 37 different books in all different ways, shapes, and sizes. They had a camel, they had horseback riding, they had tortoises, they had a huge spider that I didn't get close to. But seeing books come to life and seeing the looks on these children's faces as they went from station to station, and I think they had a magician there, and they had some authors there to talk about their books. And it was all free to the public, so kudos to Dr. Jones and all the librarians and all the people that participated, because it really was something special for our district. I was also invited to participate in the Lamar Consolidated High School Senior Serve at Jones Creek Park. And I just want to say how proud I was of the parents and students that participated. I do usually go to this event, and it's been lacking in support, so to speak, over the last few years, but this year, the kids came out, the parents, the families, and and I didn't know if Principal King was going to go home with cakes, because she kept bidding on every one. She didn't win every one, but she kept bidding on them. But that just shows her support for her students. I too was at the CTE graduation dinner, and I think this was an inaugural event. They haven't done this before, pulling students from some of our high schools to learn more about some of the places here in Fort Bend County. I think they went to Frito-Lay, they went to Amazon. So these are students, and of the 14 students, 5 were girls, ladies, and they all were kind of interested in architecture and engineering. So that's exciting to see. I too is at the lunch with, for the Future of Education luncheon, and it was very interesting and to hear Mike Morath talk about how we need to get started on child's education. And as a board of director of the Gulf Coast Area Association of School Boards, their regular meeting was also last week, and we had Robert Long from TASB there to give us a legal update and a safety and security update. So that was very interesting, and I hope in the future some other board members can go to some of these meetings, because you not only get credit, but you do learn more about what's going on in the state of Texas. And a final note, this is for just to put out there. As a retired teacher, I am a member of TRTA, Texas Retired Teachers Association, and we had our rally at the Capitol last week too, where myself and 1,200 people from across Texas came, and we visited the House, the Texas House and Senate, and were welcomed by both chambers, and was very exciting to see so many different retired teachers from across the state of Texas. And the reason I bring it up, we are out there advocating for retired teachers, but this helps our active teachers. We want to make sure there is something we can leave to our active teachers that they continue to grow and get into education. So just stand on our shoulders and we'll show you the way. So that's who we are. Thank you.
Yes, like they said, it was definitely a busy month. I got to watch a lot of high school baseball, some Lamar baseball, some Randall baseball. Got to go to a track meet and watch all of our district students running track and do all those events. And it's like, I was tired watching them. We got some athletes. Really cool, got to go to Jane Long's PE program. So they take over Lamar High School gym. And so all the kids from Jane Long will come together, and they've been working on their task that they had, cha-cha slide and then basketball and all the sports stuff. But it was really cool to see their second grade teachers, Miss Watts and Miss Steffen. When they walked in their room, their kids lit up, and their kids ran to them and gave them hugs. So props to those teachers for building relationships with those students, that whenever they walked in, they were jazzed. They were more jazzed to see their teachers than they were to perform their activities. So got to also experience, it was probably the highlight of the month for me, was the Red Track SLC Easter egg hunt. The smiles and the joy that was on our SLC students there. They had to do it inside Terry because it was one of those rain days. But it was amazing to see our students that kind of like just the purity of the students. Whenever they were hunting for Easter eggs, there was tons of eggs all over the place, and like they were leaving some for their friends and all that kind of stuff. And it was also really neat to see, because each one of our SL students was teamed up with a buddy. And so to see our general ed students teamed up with a buddy for the egg hunt and them walking them around, I think those students, their hearts grew a little bit more compassionate that day, which was cool. We had a safety and security meeting here. As a dad, it makes me feel good that, as a district, we are actively meeting regarding safety and security. And hopefully we'll hear some updates later on tonight about what we're going to be doing to even make sure that we're doing that. We had a budget committee meeting, which we'll hear about. I got to participate in the CTE Leadership Academy graduation dinner. The very next day at Safari, Texas, I got to go to the CTE Practicum Employer Lunch. So our CTE students are in the Practicum location. They go work and they get school credit for working. So we invited their employers to a lunch just to say thank you for hosting our students at their event. And then along with what Trustee Welch and Trustee Danziger said was the Katie Chamber lunch with the TEA, Mike Morath.
All right, it was a very busy month. I will spare you all the roll call because a lot of the other events, I was there as well. And the thing that stuck out to me was not only the big events that we see where we're celebrating our students, but just the seemingly routine things that we see every day on campus, where you go into a classroom and you see an incredible lesson, or you see a classroom full of kids that are just incredibly engaged in what they're doing. And that happens all the time. And it's not something that we can bring into the boardroom and to show all of you, but it happens consistently across all of our campuses, and it's such a reassuring thing as a parent to see. So to all of our teachers, thank you for doing what you do and doing such a great job with our kids. I'd also like to thank the administration for some of these celebrations. We're adding more of these to the beginning of the meetings, and I think it's important that we have that opportunity to celebrate the incredible things that are happening in our district. We have kids winning championships. I mean, we've got competitions that are being won, and our young people are doing really incredible things. Last, I will say, I believe today was the first day of STAR testing, and I know that this is a very stressful time for kids. It's also a very stressful time for teachers. So again, I'd like to thank all of you, and to all the kids that are watching the live stream right now, go to bed. I know this is riveting. I know y'all are out there watching us, but get a good night's sleep, and good luck to all of you. Dr. Nivens, do you have a superintendent's report?
Yes, sir, I do. It'll be brief. Every semester we host our we call it Gather and Grow breakfasts, or lunches, and we meet with our PTOs in one meeting. We'll meet with our elected officials in another meeting, and then this morning we had our faith leaders, our leaders of faith community this morning. And so those conversations are all about, being partners with all those organizations and making sure that we are, I say that the Lamar CISD, we don't want to be good partners, we want to be great partners. And so bringing everybody to the table and making sure they know that the door is open. Because as you all know, if you've heard me say this before, our society's not well right now. A lot of people are not doing well. And so it's going to take all of us to make sure that we continue to speak life into one another and help people out. That's what we do. We have to help folks. And the country came out of me that time, didn't it? We have to help folks, as my grandma would say. And, so it's make sure that we all are intentional about what that looks like. And so having those meetings and making sure that Lamar CISD is going to be great partners with everyone in our community is going to help that. But just to issue a challenge to everyone out there, let's continue to speak life to one another, be nice, be kind, all those good things. But you can't say it enough. And just be aware that the moment that, you have that little voice that says, let's do something different, let's snap, let's lash out at people, let's take a break. Let's just slow down, take a breather, and, you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And so anyway, and our kids are watching us, and you heard me say this before, is that the kids behave like the adults do. And so as long as we show them the correct way to behave and disagree, which we can disagree and not be disagreeable, but we can do that and still be amicable to each other, then we'll continue to show our students what that looks like, because they're going to be the future, right? They are the future. So anyway, that's all we did for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Nivens. Mrs. Johnson, are there any public comments?
If you wish to address the board, you must fill out a card and submit it before the presiding officer calls the meeting to order. While speakers generally have 5 minutes to address the board, the presiding officer may establish an overall time limit for public comment and adjust the time allotted to each speaker when necessary to accommodate a large number of speakers. However, no speaker shall be given less than 1 minute. All of this is in compliance with HB 2840. Tonight, each speaker will have 3 minutes. While the board values hearing from members of the public, trustees may not respond to comments as they are prohibited by law from discussing or deciding any subject that is not on the board's publicly noticed agenda. Speakers having complaints against individual district employees or trustees may only address the board after filing a complaint form and in the manner provided for in board policy DGBA employee complaints, F&G student and parent complaints, and GF public complaints. The presiding officer or designee shall determine whether a speaker has filed a complaint according to policy. Any speaker who complains of individual district employees or trustees during public comment will be directed by the presiding officer to stop addressing the board and will refer the speaker to the appropriate complaint policy. Please state your name when you come forward. Our first speaker tonight is Bailey Bird.
Good evening, board members, trustees, and guests. My name is Bailey Bird. I'm 17 years old, and I'm a junior at Lamar Consolidated High School. I currently serve the Lamar Consolidated Technology Student Association chapter as the vice president, and previously I've served Texas TSA as a sergeant-at-arms, and recently I've been elected as the Texas TSA president. Today, I want to start talking about CTE importance and how it has impacted my life. I want to start by talking about my TSA advisor, Kristen Roush. I first met Ms. Roush as a freshman in her Intro to Engineering Design class. Yes, the instruction was limited due to COVID, but Ms. Roush never made the classroom feel any smaller. Her welcoming spirit drove me to join TSA, where I found a home, a place I truly belonged. High school can be difficult for many students, trying to find a place where they belong or a place where they fit in. I would not be standing here today speaking to you without the guidance of Ms. Roush. As I was recently elected as the Texas TSA president, an organization with over 50,000 people, if there was one person I owe it all to, it would be Ms. Roush. Taking an engineering course started my entrance into engineering in TSA, but not all students get this opportunity. Students select their endorsements in 8th grade when they're 13 to 14 years old. With scheduling conflicts and required credits, students may not be able to take a CTE course. It just may not align with their lives. The Technology Student Association, along with all CTE clubs, are organizations for all students and of all interests and should be treated as such. My advisors, Ms. Roush, Mr. Goss, and Ms. Ferguson, have always encouraged me in my ambitions, inside and outside the classroom. Even when I was just joining the club or leading chapter meetings, I've always felt supported and recognized. Every student, regardless of their schedule, in school deserves the opportunity to explore new interests without the worry of risk or judgment. CTSO's, Career Technical Student Organizations, give every student a platform for new exploration and a foundation for a successful career. With that being said, teachers deserve the support of the school board to encourage students to join career technical organizations like TSA because they are essential to the development of student interest and creativity, as well as forming future careers. TSA is more than engineering. It is science, art, architecture, and math. And it's not about competitions. It's about career development and enrichment and growing new opportunities that may not have been available before. CTE teachers and students deserve full support in their endeavors to encourage their students to reach new heights. Let us continue funding all students interested in CTE clubs, not just those in engineering or science-specific endorsements, to guarantee our youth a brighter future. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Keshawn Misra.
Good evening. My name is Kishan Misra. I currently serve George Ranch High School as the TSA president and have served as the Texas TSA state treasurer for the 2022 to 2023 school year. I often get the question, what is TSA? The simple answer is the Technology Student Association. But that just doesn't do it justice because TSA is so much more and means so much more. It is a place that allows us to develop skills and explore our creativity to make previously unimaginable creations. It is a place where we can connect with others with similar interests and make friendships that will last a lifetime. A place where we can make a difference in the lives of others and the future of the technical world. TSA has done all this for me, a student in the business pathway, and more. Through the relentless support and dedications of my advisors, Ms. Ferguson, Ms. Gresham, and Mr. Logan, I have been able to explore the leadership aspect of TSA. I can confidently say that I would not be able to stand at this podium or even strike up a conversation in the hallway if it weren't for TSA. The roles that I have undertaken through these years have not only modified my ability to speak in public, but have also allowed me to develop an ability to problem solve. For these reasons, I see and understand the importance of CTSO programs for interested students. This brings me to the reason I am here today. Under a new district policy, students who are not enrolled in specific STEM courses will not be funded for TSA. These students who are currently in TSA and who may be in the future are stripped of the opportunities to learn various skills in the technical world and grow from the opportunities provided through TSA. High school is a time of growth and exploration, and it should be a school district's mission to foster this for all its students. When a student enters 8th grade, they are asked to select their endorsement pathway, which they base their high school electives on fulfilling. The district's implementation of this new CTSO funding policy limits the abilities of students to explore technical CTE learning in different areas and industries, preventing students from developing skills in different technical fields, one of the most valuable traits a student can take with them out of their educational career. Furthermore, students are restricted from being exposed to different subjects and careers that may pique their interest. Many students, including some present here today, decide to study certain majors such as engineering in their post-secondary education due to the exposure they have gained from CTSOs such as TSA. It is unrealistic to expect students to know what they want to do when they enter high school and to restrict them to educational experiences related to that path. Even more, the diverse makeup of TSA makes it the thriving student organization that it is. We have students from different backgrounds with differing yet coalesced interests coming together to compete and to learn different skills, putting their minds together to create something special. One of Lamar CISD's goals is to craft a bright future for its students. So I ask, how does a policy that prevents a student's ability to discover their passions and learn new skills ensure a bright future? Thus, I strongly urge you all to take awareness of this case and to reevaluate this detrimental policy in order to focus equal and sufficient funding for all students, regardless of programs, for all CTSOs. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Quentin Fernandez.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Quentin Fernandez from George Ranch High School. As my other peers have already discussed, TSA has shaped the person I am today. I can confidently say that I will always treasure the memories I have made, the lessons I have learned, and the experiences I have gained. I must thank the district and Lamar CISD for developing such a strong TSA and CTE program. And for many of us, TSA is coming to a close. I have been in TSA for over 5 years now, and most of us speaking to you tonight are juniors and seniors. As we move on, however, I wish to ensure that this will not be the end of TSA for all those other students who have yet to participate in this wonderful organization. As my peers have already discussed, it is of utmost importance to provide everyone with equal opportunity to compete in TSA. I can only reiterate the value of allowing students to venture outside of their selected course of study, but I can expand upon the forthcoming funding difficulties we will all face. We have brought up these concerns numerous times, and our district has been kind enough to reverse a policy that would have restricted CTSO access effective this year. Yet an imminent policy change remains for next year. We have been repeatedly told that students outside of their aligned CTSO must fundraise to travel. In theory, this sounds like a bright idea. We will be ensuring that only the most dedicated students and chapters will travel. This does not align with reality. It would cost approximately $2,500 for non-funded students to travel to nationals based on the past estimates we have been given. This is not an amount that can be fundraised. This year, our chapter had 17 people qualify for nationals, 6 of whom are not in the aligned CTSO. Next year, this would cost them a total of $15,000 to travel. Our chapter at George Ranch already conducts fundraising campaigns. Yet in all of our years, we have not raised funds remotely close to $15,000. For any reference, a recent Mod Pizza fundraiser campaign, wherein we had 30 participants, raised a grand total of $104. If we could raise $15,000 on any whim, believe me, we would be doing so every day. The unfortunate reality is that this fundraising is not something we can conduct. We cannot expect parents and students to pay $2,500 to participate in TSA, whilst other students like me who are in engineering classes are already fully funded. We have also considered alternative options. Splitting and sharing the cost of this trip can potentially work at a state level. It was estimated to be $600 to travel to Texas TSA State, which can reasonably reduce the cost when split up among 17 members. But once we get to a $2,500 cost, splitting this up ensures that no one can travel. So I hope that everyone can work together to rectify this problem and ensure that we have a bright future for TSA and the CTE program that this district has worked to build. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Romina Rincon.
Hi, good evening. My name is Romina Rincon, and I am the TSA president for Foster High School. With just 2 years in TSA, the lessons and experiences I've gained from being in this organization have been something I value a lot. TSA has opened so many doors for me, from teaching me how to lead to meeting amazing people, and to showing me how many options there exist for a career. TSA, as well as other CTSOs, are amazing ways where students can explore many pathways that different careers offers without having to commit to a class. However, the decision to not provide funding for students who are not in certain classes is a barrier to allowing students to explore full advantage and to take full advantage of opportunities that benefit their future. The belief that a student will have their mind made up to what they want to do when they grow up by the time they enter high school is not only outdated but unrealistic. By only allowing certain students to participate in programs such as TSA, we are limiting the opportunities of growth many students may have. And although not being in these classes does not technically prohibit you from participating, most students cannot afford the expenses tied to the competitions. Even with fundraisers from clubs, the costs are still too high for many students who do not have the financial opportunity to pay for the fees. If the requirement of needing to be in a specific course in order to participate in TSA was in place 2 years ago when I joined, I would have never considered joining the club. This doesn't only affect TSA members across the district, it affects many other clubs who depend on district funding to travel and participate in competition. For these past 2 years, I have also been a member of DECA. If students are required to take a CTE class related to those career pathways, most students would be limited to joining a maximum of singular club, since we only have certain spots available for classes other than academics. Most students need all their periods in order to meet credit requirements as well as achieving higher academic work. Most of us don't have space in our schedule to take CTE course for every club we want to compete in. Joining TSA has been one of the most impactful decisions I made in my high school years. Going into nationals last year and qualifying again this year has been an amazing experience that I wish many students can experience. This requirement of courses in order to participate in the club will limit so many students from pursuing activities that brings them out of their comfort zones. Please understand the importance CTSOs has on so many students and why it's so important for us to have proper funding from the district. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Alexis Prevet.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Prevet. I am a senior at George Ranch High School, and I currently serve as our TSA Chapter Sergeant at Arms. I've been a part of the program since 7th grade, making this year my 6th year in Technology Student Association. TSA is an organization I am truly passionate about, and I'm excited to explain tonight why limiting the funding for CTSOs would take away opportunities from students such as myself who have experienced all that TSA has had to offer, yet have never taken a CTE course. Going off to college soon, I can confidently say that TSA has been monumental in guiding my future. In the fall, I am planning on primarily studying architectural engineering, as well as my other interests in mathematics and computer science. I would have never discovered my love for architectural engineering if it weren't for TSA. From early as junior high, designing and building a sustainable home for one of my all-time favorite events, Off the Grid, to helping build our nationally advancing nursing home this year for architecture design. The multidisciplinary events of TSA have helped me uncover my interest in architecture and prepare me for college. TSA is an organization where educational fields combine. It is accepting of all students and their pursuits. As early as 7th grade, I chose the course pathway for art. I committed to the program and have now taken art classes all the way up to AP Art 4. And I have no regrets. The district's funding for TSA allowed me to spend my days in art class, and then after school, learn from my mistakes and victories in the STEM-based events of TSA. My education was not limited to just CTE or just art. Rather, I experienced both, ultimately leading to my career choice for architectural engineering, an area of study that could not be possible without the educational intersection between art and design and STEM and technology. The students in TSA are leaders. They are problem solvers and innovators. As you can see by the group of students that have came before you tonight, we are students with initiative. The students who are advancing onto the state and national levels of competition are hardworking and dedicated to their events. All of the students that advance deserve to be there. The department claims that, quote, the mission of LCISD CTE is to empower our diverse student population to find their passion and learn their purpose. Our student population is diverse. Our academics do not fit into one box of interest. If the district's mission is true as stated, I urge you to reconsider the decision of only financially supporting a small portion of the students within our welcoming interdisciplinary organization. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Aman Amin.
Good evening. I'm a senior at the Lamar Consolidated High School, and I've been a part of TSA for over 6 years. Along with TSA, I've also been encouraged to join other clubs, such as other CTSOs, such as Skills USA and DECA. Along with these clubs, I've been a part of numerous extracurricular activities, and I'm currently the treasurer of my Lamar at the LCHS TSA, and I'm also the treasurer of the NHS. Now, as you've seen, we have lots of peers, and our group members came in front of you to talk about the issue. I want to focus on a lot of the positives that have come as a senior in TSA and the CTSOs. I was a national semifinalist for Questbridge and several other scholarships. This was due to the great support from my TSA advisors and all the experiences, the networks, all the connections I've made throughout my 6 years in these CTSOs. I would like to thank the district for providing the funding for that. Like I said, I've been part of DECA and TSA, which are two completely diverse and different organizations. My current endorsement is the CTE engineering endorsement, so I am unable to fit business classes into my schedule. But with the funding, but with the previous rules and policies of the district, I was able to be funded to go. However, as we've noticed, the new district policy will prevent that from happening. Again, as a senior, I've had the privilege and the honor to go to these events. I've been a national qualifier several times. I've placed 9th nationals last year for system controls, which has been a continuous record for Lamar Consolidated High School. The incoming freshmen, the incoming sophomores and juniors won't have this opportunity. CTE is such a great organization. It's such a great program, and I would absolutely, it would I'd be extremely sad if that would not be provided to the incoming classes. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Muhammad Awanis.
Good evening, distinguished board members. My name is Mohammed Awais Jaffer. I'm currently the treasurer at George Ranch High School, and I'm here addressing the situation of only funding CTE courses for TSA. Now, I joined TSA in 8th grade, and ever since then, I've not only grown as a person, both mentally and academically, but I've made lifelong memories and relationships that are unforgettable. It's truly a blessing that I want to give it to another person, but we can't if they have the burden of thousands of dollars to pay. Now, I want more people to be able to experience and really see the impact of TSA that can have on them. But this cannot be possible if they have so much money to pay. It limits the whole premise of what TSA is really about, which is exploring new opportunities and forging a brighter future through means of STEM. The youth demographic should not be deprived of these opportunities to learn and expand their mind just because they have to pay so much money. The whole purpose of LCISD is to let children forge their own path for a brighter future for tomorrow. Why would we limit that? I remember when my advisor introduced me to TSA, I was amazed because I just grew my writing skills as well as my speaking skills, my public speaking skills, and I want to give that to another person. So we can't do that if we have so much money to raise. Like some of my other members talked about, we have to pay almost $15,000. That can't be possible because we haven't even come close to that. So in conclusion, I just hope that we can go past this and let everyone have the same opportunities to go to nationals and state. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Elvina Lynn.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alvina Lin, and I am a freshman attending George Ranch High School. I currently serve in the George Ranch TSA leadership team, and today I'm going to discuss the funding issue in TSA. Currently, I'm not in any courses such as engineering, computer science, or classes related to it, so this is the reason why I'm here today, to highlight the positives about TSA. Traveling for a school competition is often a necessary expense for many participants. And think of it like this. Heaps of TSA members could hold a phenomenal talent, and they don't have to be enrolled in a current CTE course. CTA deserves more recognition. During nationals, I didn't only learn about engineering, I learned about handling professionalism and real-life skills that I wouldn't have learned within TSA. TSA helped me think a whole new perspective. It helped me be creative and many new mindsets. Think of the benefits TSA gives to the school district. The competition winners doesn't always have to be an engineering student. They could be involved with something completely different. But that's not the point. I believe that the more people involved, the more winners we could have, which means more awards and recognition for LCISD. So not only does the TSA members get benefited, but the district does too. TSA is a great fit too, for those who aren't in specific pathways. When the district pays for travel expenses, it ensures that all students have an equal chance to participate in activities for their gracious growth. In conclusion, it would limit the participants for this astonishing program, and we want more members for this program. Instead, we should strive to make competition accessible to everyone, regardless of their pathway, and ensure their focus remains on excellence and growth. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Our next speaker is Rhiannon Omar.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Rhiannon Omar. This is my daughter, Addison Omar. She attends George Ranch. She's a freshman this year. I just wanted to come on and just talk about our wonderful support system that we have. Miss Jamie Dorsey, she's our APE. She's been with Addison since elementary school. Addison is our district's second ever para athlete. It has done amazing things for her. She has just grown so much. And Miss Dorsey, Miss Patterson, Coach Cavallo, Coach Jones, everybody that's in our system and that's her support system, they are just amazing people. I want more people to come out and check her out. She has area this coming week. Not only has it been great for her, it's been great for her teammates. They've learned so much about adapted PE, adapted sports. Addison also plays basketball for the team Hot Wheels through tier. Our coaches actually came out and watched her play, and they made history. They were the first wheelchair athletes to play at the NCAA men's tournament a few weeks ago. But I just want to tell y'all that this program with the APEs and our coaches and at George Ranch and Ms. Patterson, they have been the best thing that has ever happened to us. They're amazing. We'll be at practice. Coach Jones will be helping kids with homework while he's getting ready to set Addison up on the track. They're just so involved, and it is just fantastic. The special education department, they do not get the recognition they deserve. They're everywhere. Anytime I need have a question or anything, I'm sorry, I'm emotional because Miss Dorsey just does so much for us. And Miss Patterson doesn't say no. Anything that we throw at her, she says, okay, let's try it. And it's just amazing. They're so amazing. And there is nothing I can say or do that would just explain how great they are. I can call Miss Dorsey up to help another student at a different district because nobody has a Miss Dorsey. Nobody has a Coach Jones. Nobody has a Coach Dutch, a Coach Cavallo. Coach Cavallo was He's back here too somewhere. But he was at the basketball as well. But these people are just amazing. They are one of the best contributions to our district. And she is amazing because of them as well. So I just want to tell y'all that they're fantastic, and come watch her, come check her out, and just come watch these guys. This whole team is amazing, completely amazing. Oh, this is Addison. So she's a freshman. She does track and field at George Ranch, and then she also does basketball. So we're just hoping to get more para sports in, and I want more kids like her to have the same opportunity. I'm sorry. I don't have as good speaking skills as these high school kids, but because I'm mom and I'm emotional. But that's all. But thank you. So.
Our next speaker is Monica Afon.
Hi, good evening. My name is Monica Afon. I am the principal of Westendorf. This is my first year as principal, but second year as Westendorf. I arrived as the assistant principal. And in a short amount of time, our school improved from an accountability rating of a D to a B, and I'm really excited about that and about the blue track. I have our first STAR test tomorrow morning under my leadership, and I know that my kids and my teachers, we are ready. We have been working really, really hard, and we have the joy of having two organizations who have really supported us through this journey, and that is our Mustang Support Squad. That's our parent organization that is new this year, and they're about 40 parents deep, and they will do anything we ask. They volunteer all the time. They help us fundraise. They bring us pies for Thanksgiving or just random Taco Tuesday, and our teachers are fired up, and they love it, and we wouldn't be the same without them. The second organization is our partner church, and that's FBC Richmond and Pastor Ryan Chandler. And we are so grateful to know, as we lay our heads down tonight, that we have an entire church community praying for our success tomorrow. Thank you for your time, and have a great evening.
That is all, Mr. President.
At this time, we'll take action on the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like to pull? May I have a motion to approve the current consent agenda?
Make that motion.
Mr. Lambert moves.
I'll second.
Mr. Welch seconds. Is there any discussion?
I didn't want to pull it, but I know we've quit reading resolutions, but this next month of May has some very important resolutions. If you don't mind, I just mentioning them.
Of course.
And we have on May 10th is Public School Paraprofessional Day. School Nurses Week is the May 6th through the 12th. Teacher Appreciation Week, and I think they need the whole month, but they get a week, 8th through the 12th, and of course, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage for the whole month of May. So those are just, I know we, like I said, we used to read them and that takes up time, but I just want to make people aware. And I know the district does on their website, but
Thank you very
it's
much.
worth mentioning.
Thank you for that. Mr. Welch.
The consent agenda doesn't get a lot of attention usually, so I emailed a couple of questions on items G, K, and P, and got answers from the administration, and I posted it on social media for anybody who's interested in that. I don't want to take the time tonight to discuss that here, but I do want to make one suggestion for the district for next year. It's on item E. We are approving a contract with our outside auditor, Whitney Penn. And as long as I've been on this board, we've used this company. And from everything that I know, this company is very reputable, and they do a great job. I was thinking about this when I was reading the book this weekend, and I reached out to a friend of mine who works in the Fort Wayne County government and picked his brain about the district possibly using another auditor just to have fresh eyes on our books. And this person said he thought that was a great idea, that he also encourages that in the county government as well. So I would like the administration to consider to bringing to the board next year an outside company besides Whitney Penn to audit our books at least 1 or 2 years. That's my suggestion. Sure.
Yeah, I can explain that. We just engaged in the RFQ process this year where we opened it back up. And so, when I came as part of my entry plan, I said, we need to make sure we have an audit in every subject, in every area, but also that we have several vendors that we've used quite a long time in our district. And so we opened it up. We had an RFQ process. And how many folks applied, Jill? We have five firms apply. The top 2 firms met with me, Ms. Ludwig and Ms. Reynolds in the finance department. And then I decided to go back with Whitney Penn because they are absolutely best. But we did open it back up this year. And so that is something that we decided to do every 5 years, just open it back up and make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck for your different vendors. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I didn't know that before I received the book in your comments now, so thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now have reports and presentations on the information items. Dr. Nivens.
All right, Mr. President, so this is going to be a team effort, I believe. We'll turn over to Mr. Buchanan.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Nivens. Tonight, we want to bring forth a consideration about our membership with TASB. So I'm up first, so I'm going to talk about our electrical contract. Currently, our electrical contract is through a contract cooperative with TASB in Direct Energy. The TASB makes their commission off the overhead of Direct Energy, so it comes out of Direct Energy's cut as part of that. Right now, if we were to break that electrical contract that goes through the May of 2031, Direct Energy said there would be no penalty. And the reason being is the cost of natural gas, which regulates that, is twice what it was when we locked in the contract. So they would be gaining an extra $17.7 million in profit. And then if we were to go out for that electrical contract at this point in time, we'd have to pay current natural gas prices, which would cost us an additional $17.7 million over the life of that contract through May of 2031. The second thing we have right now is our fuel contract through TASB. What it does is it locks in and hedges a certain amount of gallons of gas and diesel for our white and our bus fleets. Our current contract expires in September of 2023. What we were able to do is we were able to grab our wholesale prices over the last 4 quarters and average that compared to our average cost. Multiply that times the number of gallons of fuel that we use, and it would have increased our budget by $302 over that same time period. Before I leave, are there any questions about the fuel or electricity?
How much you say?
$302,000 for fuel and $17.7 million for the electrical contract.
Yeah, I was getting clarity because you said $302.
I'm sorry, sir. I apologize.
Mr. Buchanan, and you might get to this, jumping ahead here. Do you know of, or did you explore any other options to buy electricity or fuel at a discounted rate for the district?
So currently now for electricity prices, just to let everybody know, even though our electricity comes from different markets, whether it be wind, solar, nuclear, all of it is based on natural gas. So everybody hedges that. When we bought our contract, what they do is they hedge that amount of natural gas for the length of that contract and what we would use. So when we look at the natural gas prices now, they are double what they were. So the few vendors that we reached out to, this was the lowest dollar amount, the $17.7 million. Because what they do is they take what the natural gas prices are now times what our usage will be of the length of that contract. That's how they come up with the estimated cost and the increase based on that. Fuel prices, right now, TASB is the only one that we have reached out to that would lock in our fuel prices for X amount of gallons for a 6 to 12-month window. Everyone else, your fuel prices are as they go. So the ebbs and flows of the market. So as gas and diesel prices go up, we pay more. As they go down, we pay more. What TASB allows us to do is it locks in a budget certainty because we're paying X amount of gallons for X amount of cost over that length of period of time. So it helps us be able to take the tops off the highs, and it also takes the lows, bottoms off the lows as well, and it gives us a little bit more budget certainty as we work through those. Okay, thank you.
Good evening once again, Board of Trustees. Tonight, this next slide is an area that I believe most of you are familiar with. One of the areas that we use, of course, for TASB will be the area for organizing and managing our board documents and resources. And so one of the options that one of the things we currently use right now, of course, is Board Book, and as you can see, the price is currently about $1,500. But another viable option that would be a vendor known by that goes by the name of Board Docs. And of course, there's many different areas, of course, or packages that you can kind of have with them. But at that range, if we were to go differently away from Board Book, would be in the area of $6,000 to about $15,000, depending on some of the things that you kind of choose. But it would be very comparable to what you have right now, where you can kind of do things online. Makes it a lot more easier for, of course, the board secretary to be able to kind of gather documents and post them. And I think it also allows you to be able to kind of vote if we ever want to go in that direction to voting and doing things electronically for the public to be able to see. So that's one comparable company that you could use to be able to use for a Board Book would be Board Docs. And it's one that's pretty reputable amongst other public schools that use things for school management for board documents. The next area is an area, of course, that I primarily oversee would be for TASB, which would be the area of risk management. And for this area, we can primarily use TASB for the area of auto and liability. And liability, of course, is broken up into two areas, and that's professional and well as general liability insurance. And this covers pretty much the premiums. And so currently we spend about $367,000 in the area for TASB risk management. But of course, you know, that could range anywhere from this year into next year in the area of $350,000 to $400,000. And in the area of unemployment compensation, we also use TASB as well. Although we're self-insured, TASB is kind of like our third-party administrator. So of course, the premium that we pay on unemployment is about $6,000. When we were talking about some of the claims that we kind of have over a period of time within 1 year, that range will be about $95,000 to $100,000 per year. And one key thing to remember is if we choose to go away from TASB, our contract ends, of course, August 31st, and we would have to give them a 30-day notice. And so, of course, we'd have to do an RFP process to kind of go out for bids for other vendors. But we'd have to make sure we secure that by August 31st because TASB would not allow us to be able to kind of extend our policies in order for us to find another vendor.
Mr. Bates.
So, yes.
If you can go back one slide. Is
This
that?
slide?
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. It says it totals $350,000 to $400,000 per year. That's how much we're paying now?
Yeah, we currently, at this very moment, it's $367,000. But if we were talking about moving next year, or even kind of just so you know what our prices would be next year, it could easily go up to about $400,000, still using TASB this year.
Okay.
I'm sorry, still using TASB for next year.
So what would the total increase be if we move, if we leave TASB? What, do we know an approximate amount, how much more we would have to pay?
Next slide.
Gotcha, okay.
Good question, though. So some of the examples of vendors, it is a really great question. Some of the examples of the vendors that we could use that would be able to be comparable, of course, doing like a combo. And I always like to look at it just like you would do your home insurance. The more you can combine, the kind of the cheaper the rates it is. Some of these are areas and vendors that hopefully you've heard before. Insurica, CAS may be the most popular one that other people have used outside of TASB, and as well as TPS, Texas Political Subdivision. So those costs for risk management as well as unemployment would be kind of in the area of $600,000 to $800,000. So it's kind of like a difference of about $150,000 on the low end and possibly about $200,000 to $300,000 on the high end. And once again, those prices, those are kind of like ballpark numbers that these vendors kind of give. Many of them are not willing to give direct numbers because we're outside the RFP process and RFQ process for bidding. So trying to procure those types of costs, we'd have to be a little bit more active and actually post an RFP in order for us to kind of give more exact numbers. So it's a way that they can kind of, they protect themselves by just kind of giving us ballpark figures. Next in the area of TASB is the human resources resources, such as district membership policy, policy online, TASB legal services, and HR services, which is also combined with student services. Policy online is going to be your biggest one. Those are the ones that actually govern our actual board policies that we use. So the ability to actually be able to pull down our policies, to be able to look at them online. We pay a fee of $3,400 for that. And of course, whenever we do compensation review plans, which we typically do about every 3 years, that amount is about $36,000. So that's not something we do every single year. But the top four are the ones that we kind of pay annually every year. The HR services are some of the things that we use for our job descriptions or things that we use to try to make sure we kind of compare salaries across the area for market value. Student services are the things that we use for our student handbook. Matter of fact, HR services is also what we use for the employee handbooks as well. So those are some of the things that we use for TASB with those things in nature. But if you also, as a deeper dive on the policy online, one of the solutions or options that we could use for a future vendor would be any attorney that specializes in school law. One of the things to remember, that's going to require a lot of time because the policies that we have currently with TASB are copyrighted. So they're copyrighted protected. So if we ever chose to move away from TASB, the moment we move away from them, the moment that contract expires, we would be wide open. We wouldn't have any policies. And so whoever would actually pick up the opportunity to write our policies would have to start all the way from policy A all the way to policies G, both legal and local. Any local policies that actually have the letter X on it, which is a unique policy that we've chosen to kind of go away from TASB's recommendation on like the policy updates or the legal updates, those will be the ones that actually still belong to the district, but that's very few and far between as well as what we have in the school district. So it requires a lot of the time, and it's going to be at the rate of their billable hours. And once again, all policies will kind of have to be reproduced from scratch. Yes, sir?
I heard the words you said. Let me make sure I understand what you said. Our policy, the legal policy, which is state law, and local policy, which is the local interpretation, which is law in Lamar, it is copyrighted by TASB, and they own the rights to it.
Correct. With the exception of the ones that we've, for example, if we said, well, here's a local recommendation that comes through like the policy updates, and we said, well, we want to make this little tweak to it, then those are unique outside of TASB's recommendations. Those belong to us. Because in reality, TASB's policies are still their interpretation of the law.
And so I've been on the board for 4 years now, and this is the first time I've ever heard this. And it was about a year and a half into my board service where I turned to Dr. Randall, our previous superintendent, and I said, wait a minute, are you telling me that our local policy is written by TASB, not past boards? And he confirmed that. So I'm getting even more new information now.
Yes, sir.
Does TEA not have an equivalent substitute policy that we could adopt were we ever to leave TASB? And this is, because I assume that TEA would be interpreting the state law and giving it to all the ISDs in the state.
I would have to do a deeper dive, but currently I'm not aware of that existing for under TEA.
Mr. Bates, I'm not sure if our counsel, Mr. Grover, is here.
I'm not sure.
My understanding of it, though, is that legal policy is an interpretation through TASB's legal experts of state and federal law.
That's correct.
So it isn't necessarily that the state and the federal government are issuing these policies and then TASB sticking their copyright on it.
That's correct.
TASB legal experts are creating work product by looking at case law precedent, looking at federal law, looking at state case law precedent, and looking at state statutes, creating a policy, and then as a result, getting paid for their work product through their membership fees from partner organizations like school districts.
Well, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and that's news to me because I've asked that question of not the current administration, but the previous administration, and they said that the legal, what we call our legal policy is state law. And there's a lot of state law in it, quoted directly, because I've read it all. So, you know, being the untrained lawyer that I am, I'm reading it and I'm thinking, well, this is the law.
Right. It's the, as Mr. Hunt said, it's the interpretation of the law.
I'm just now learning that. And I don't know, I don't like I didn't like it 2.5 years ago, and I don't like it now that our local policy, what the law of Lamar, is written by TASB. I don't like that.
Let me bring some more clarity to that. It's not necessarily written by TASB, but TASB, they interpret it, they get our information, the board approves it, and then they format it. And so if we move away from TASB, then all that written policy and all those formats that we did not change, so we just accepted what TASB's recommendations were, are property of TASB.
Correct.
The ones, if it says, you know, Lamar CISD, you're able to do X, Y, Z, and Lamar says, no, we only want to do Y and Z, that is a Lamar CISD policy. but we don't have many of those that we have tailor-made for ourselves.
That's correct.
Is it not true that most of the local policy the district has adopted have been recommendations by TASB?
Yes.
That we just pretty much go, yeah, we'll just go ahead and do that.
Yes, well, we take it to the policy committee first, so when we get the policy in.
Now we do, and under your leadership we do, but in the past,
we
I
did.
don't remember that happening very much.
Yes, it did.
Okay,
And
well, you know, our process is now is that when we get it from TASB, I send it to all the executive team leaders.
Right.
Get their input, and then we call our policy committee together, which is 3 trustees, look at it, and then bring it back to the board. And so if we don't make any adjustments at all, then, and we adopt it as is from TASB sent, then it is property of TASB.
So
There were times that we got it and then changed some words and changed some structure, because I remember doing it. And then we gave it to our attorney, who then turned around and made sure it was in the correct format through TASB, that we were within the laws of the state statute, so that we weren't going beyond what they thought. And then we've written some of our own, because we did write some of our own. Again, it was given to our attorney to make sure that it was written properly to put into our policies. But I've done that on more than one occasion. So we haven't done it as much lately, but I remember doing it over the years.
Correct. And if you were ever just browsing or trying to figure out which ones those are, if you look at the bottom where it says the date that those policies were approved, you'll see an A or a B. You also will find some that has an X on it. The one that has an X are the ones that that are unique to LCISD, and it wasn't accepted or the recommendation for TASB's policy. And if it's the board's wish, I can try to get a copy of those and make sure I get them to Dr. Nivens and share with you all.
And just to boil it down and just to give a very simplified analogy, my understanding of the way that it works is that they're essentially compiling templates. So, for example, typical layperson, if they're going to go and create a will, don't know what needs to go into that will, so they go on a service like LegalZoom or something.
Yes, sir.
And there's legal experts that work for them that compile all the law and everything that needs to go, and they provide templates. And then you use that template to figure out what your will's gonna look like. But the actual work product that went into compiling all of that information still belongs to LegalZoom, even though you've created your own documents. So my understanding is that the legal experts at TASB are compiling all the stuff that has to go into a school district's policy, putting it into a template bank, and then having, you know, every 3 years they do a full review, working with the school districts, picking out what you want to include in your templates, and then creating a policy for our district. However, I can't just go and take, if I'm a competitor of LegalZoom, I can't go online and download LegalZoom's template and then go and start a website myself and say, come here, I'll help you. I've got the templates right here, because that's not my work product. So I imagine that it's a similar thing.
Yes,
You're gonna have to pay a lawyer to start completely from scratch, unless there's a competitor, which I'm not aware of, for TASB for this type of service.
Correct.
I'm just surprised that TEA doesn't offer this, I guess is my biggest surprise here. Because that's their job, it seems like, to interpret the state law and to oversee the school districts in the state. But
yes, sir.
Anyway.
I understand.
That would be great. Like, Mike Morath, if you're watching, they should do that.
Dr. Nivens personally knows Mike Morath. He can get that message to him.
This next slide is an actual copy of a memo that actually TASB sent to all attorneys that have subscribed to TASB policies. And so the short version of this is just them issuing, for lack of better words, a warning to them that even if they are subscribing to TASB policies, to write policies for districts, because if they're choosing to move away from TASB and we want them to rewrite it, they're pretty much issuing a warning that that is also still copyrighted protected, and they're not allowed to use their policies to rewrite one for any of the local education agencies. And this last slide is an example of kind of what it would cost, or some options for us if we chose to move away from TASB's policies. One, we could try to develop our in-house counsel. And this would kind of be one of my recommendations of the number of staff that would need to kind of go inside of that. Of course, you see, of course, the lead general counsel, and of course, any additional assistance, because if we had a lead counsel, you know, that we wouldn't want them to do the only thing to be just focusing on actual policy. It would be other things that could benefit the district as well. But the other key piece, if you look at that last bullet, would be the ability to also still have an online platform. It's one thing to have the policies, but you would also want to make sure that they're accessible from any staff within the district, and of course of any constituents outside the district as well. Or any outside attorney. And of course, here's an examples from a few other firms that I kind of spoke with as far as what their billable hours would be. But I also spoke to our actual counsel as well. And as you can see, that they said approximately just for the rewriting the policies alone, not anything else, the manpower to rewrite the policies would be approximately $1 million. And then, of course, still on top of that, we would have to still have a platform that allows for our policy to be accessible from inside as well as outside the district. Any questions about that before I leave? Okay, next, I'm turning it over to Ms. Jill Ludwig.
In addition to cooperatives for electricity and fuel, TASB also administers a co-op called Buy Board, which you're probably familiar with that name, for goods and services. They award all the contracts and do all the negotiations and competitive procurement for all these contracts. Our spend over the last few years, as you'll see up there, current year to date, about $2.8 million with Buy Board, about $5.6 million last year, and about $4.1 million the year before. Cash rebates are also available through Buy Board. Over the past 3 years, we've accumulated about $100,000 in rebates. They're a percentage of our purchase amount. Things that we buy through Buy Board, actually this year we bought portable buildings, we bought vehicles, our bus tracking software, technology, equipment and supplies, software and supplies, construction contracting, and then various supplies for curriculum, fine arts, athletics, and so on. The co-op gives us direct access to a variety of vendors. It makes it much more efficient for us to buy things. It expedites purchasing and, of course, the cash savings also. We are a member of a number of different cooperatives with similar capabilities, but I think Buy Board's probably the one that's used the most. In review of our current year spending, we found that over 85% of the money we've spent has been with 6 vendors, and mainly that's because of the portable building piece of it. We've saved about $117,000, and discounts range from no discount at all to 12.5%, but over the entire catalog of items, discounts range up to 50%. So it's difficult to estimate what the financial impact would be of losing this cooperative as a choice, but mainly because of the varying contracts and discounts and things like that. What we would worry about more, I think, is the specific products that we buy from them and being able to find those on other cooperatives, or else the additional procurement efforts that we would have to do. And those take about 60 days minimum apiece. Cooperatives may or may not have the EDGAR compliant contracts, which we need for a federal program spending. And we've actually accessed some of those contracts in weather-related emergencies also. So our summary of all these different pieces are of the additional or incremental cost of all these. Electricity would be $17 million. Fuel, $302,000, board docs, $8,500, risk management, about $200,000, $1 million for reduplicating policies, and then also the board policy database. So we're at about $18.6 million total, with about 18 million of that being for the policies and the electricity. So with that, we can answer any other questions you might have.
I don't have any additional questions for you guys. You guys did a great job. I appreciate it. I've never had this kind of briefing about TASB in my time here. I've never asked for it, but I've never been presented. So thank you very much. I think it's been very educational for the board and for the public as well.
It was educational for us too. We've
Good.
learned some things, we'll tweak some things, but anyway, it's been a good process.
Ms. Ludwig, I have a question. Is there any way to be part of the Buy Board cooperative without being part of TASB?
No, you cannot access Buy Board without being a member.
Okay.
We did check into that to make sure.
Okay. And just for folks that maybe are watching this, the purpose of this exercise was there was an information item that was requested of exiting TASB, exiting our membership in TASB. What would be the financial impact to taxpayers of getting out? And the answer to that was it would be over $18 million cost per year to taxpayers, correct?
Right.
Alex. Mr. Welch.
This came about, I requested it, and it came about because 10, I believe it was 10 legislators in Austin suggested that every school board in the state of Texas, and there was over 1,100, leave TASB because they are not politically neutral. I want a politically neutral organization. I don't want them to be extreme right-wing, extreme left-wing. And they have become, TASB, in their public statements, more and more leftist and left-leaning. I personally don't like that, and that's why those legislators suggested it. I want a politically neutral organization. It obviously doesn't make any financial sense to leave TASB, but what might be a good idea for us as a board is to consider getting some of our annual training at some other places. Because when we go to these conferences of TASB, we're also paying additional fees to go to those conferences. So it wouldn't make sense to leave our membership of TASB, but maybe we would investigate, and this would be purely the board, not necessarily the administration, other opportunities and other avenues to get some of our training. And we could possibly pay some of those dollars that we're paying to the TASB conference at some other organizations. I think that might be the way to pursue this going forward.
Any other comments or questions on this information item? All right. Next, we have a report on board member training. Under State Board of Education rules, completing required continuing education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As board president, I'm required to announce the name of each member who has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. As board president, I am pleased to announce that all board members have exceeded the minimum required amount of continuing education. Board member hours are as follows: Mandy Brunzell, 18 hours, Kane Danziger, 38.5 hours, Joe Hubenak, 12 hours, Alex Hunt, 24 hours, Zach Lambert, 32.5 hours, John Welch, 30 hours, and Joy Williams, 15 hours. Any comments on that? All right. Next, we're going to have employee development and support update. Before we do that, it is 7:59. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back around 8:04 p.m. It is 8:08. We are back, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Nivens now for employee development and support update.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I am turning it over to Christine Music.
I'm ready. Okay, good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Nivens. I'm here this evening with two of my colleagues to provide an update on employee recruitment, talent development, grow your own, and staff support initiatives. Texas has outpaced the national teacher attrition by 25% in the past decade, with 1 in 9 teachers leaving in the 21-22 school year. With teachers leaving the profession, the high growth that we're experiencing in LCISD, as well as shrinking pool of candidates who are wanting to enter the teaching profession, we are presented with a significant challenge when it comes to hiring. Lamar CISD is doing well overall when compared with the national average. LCISD has maintained an average teacher retention rate of 88.2% over the last 5 years. Research shows that 2 strategies remain critical in addressing staffing shortages in any organization. These 2 strategies will be the focus of our presentation this evening. First, we will focus on intense efforts to hire outside of the organization. Then we will share some of the ways we are tapping into quality people already in LCISD with Grow Your Own programs. So far this school year, LCISD has attended 17 recruiting events with an average of 2 candidates hired per event. In addition to that, we held our annual teacher job fair at the beginning of March. 76 professional certified staff have already been hired from this job fair, and that number continues to rise. Last year, we hired 112 as a result of the district teacher job fair. Colleges and universities are reporting dwindling numbers when it comes to students pursuing education, and we continue to attend job fairs to keep our brand alive in a market that is producing fewer and fewer job seekers. Another area of focus this year has been with strengthening our university partnerships, specifically with the University of Houston Victoria and the University of Houston main campus. Through these relationships and utilization of the Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Supports, or T-Class funds, to pay resident teachers, we've been able to place university students in year-long residencies, which is compared to the traditional 1 semester of student teaching. This is creating a pipeline of better prepared, more effective teachers who are committed to working in LCISD, improving staff retention. To date, we have hosted a total of 40 resident teachers from U of H and the University of Houston Victoria. 20 of those have completed their residency and have been hired as teachers with Lamar CISD. In December of this year, 16 more teachers or residents will be eligible for hire. Over the past year, we have worked with Region 4 on strategic staffing options to be able to continue to pay resident teachers in order to stay competitive with surrounding districts, as this trend is sure to continue in today's market. I will now turn the presentation over to Jamie Vincic, our Director of Talent Development, to share some exciting things happening in Lamar CISD as we try to bridge the gap in filling our vacancies.
Thank you, Christine. Good evening. With the growth we are facing and the staffing challenges associated with this growth, this school year, my position as the Director of Talent Development was established. The focus of talent development is to define, facilitate, and support professional growth opportunities in Lamar CISD. With career growth comes what we call Grow Your Own programs that give us the opportunity to identify high potential candidates already in our organization and provide them with advancement opportunities. Grow Your Own programs enable us to recruit local talent, to fill vacancies in high needs areas, to align an LCISD standard of excellence with professional learning, and to retain high-performing employees who are already a member of our community. One of the first key focus areas and challenges for talent development this year was to support employees seeking a highly qualified paraprofessional endorsement. This is required to serve as an instructional aide on Title I campuses. Candidates must meet a 60-hour college credit requirement, have an associate's degree or higher, or pass a rigorous assessment in reading, writing, and math. The state testing option for those who don't meet this challenge, meet the college credit criteria, is the Parapro test, which is a $55 testing fee. Many of our potential employees were unsuccessful on this test without proper preparation or support, which caused stress for the candidates and stress for our 21 Title I campuses with unfilled vacancies. The solution we implemented this past fall was to create our own assessment that meets the state requirements and develop a 2-day academy to support these aspiring paraprofessionals. The first half day focuses on the expectations of a highly qualified paraprofessional in Lamar CISD. The second part of the day includes a 2-hour review of reading concepts and then the reading assessment. The second day follows the same format with the mathematics and the writing test. The results of this implementation since October are that we've had 34 complete the 2-day academy, 32 have passed, and 74% of those on the first try. We've held 3 2-day academies so far, with 3 more scheduled for the summer. And for the summer sessions, 37 of our aspiring paraprofessionals are already enrolled. The next area of focus and challenge we faced was to support internal staff members who aspire to become teachers, yet don't yet hold their bachelor's degree. In researching potential programs, we were seeking a university that could provide a high-quality, low-cost, online or blended support for our employees who would be doing this college-level work outside of their regular school day. In the fall of 2022, we signed an agreement with Grand Canyon University called the Participants in Learning, Leading, and Serving Partnership. GCU not only met the high-quality online learning standards that we were seeking, but this agreement provided a 25% tuition discount to Lamar CISD employees who join our degree cohort. Candidates enrolled in our GCU bachelor's degree cohort are currently serving LCISD as instructional paraprofessionals, administrative assistants, substitute teachers, human resource paraprofessionals, accounting clerks, transportation dispatchers, and child nutrition managers. The first bachelor's degree cohort was launched just this past January, followed closely by a second cohort launch in March. These cohorts have a combined 28 staff members working towards completing their bachelor's degree. The 25% cohort scholarship has totaled over $269,000, and so far, over 1,000 college credits have transferred for a savings of over $400,000 for our employees. For the candidates currently enrolled in this cohort, the average time to complete their bachelor's degree will be 28 months, with a total cost of completion around $16,800. The next challenge we faced was to establish a pathway for employees with a bachelor's degree that are aspiring to earn the Texas Teacher Certification. We were seeking internal, district-driven certification program that would prepare candidates with a high-yield teaching practices and state testing preparation. We also wanted a program that would allow us to embed LCISD best practices so that we're not just preparing future teachers, but we're preparing high-performing future teachers for our classrooms. In the fall of 2022, we established a partnership with iTeach Texas, one of the leading alternative teacher certification programs in our area. iTeach allowed us to create a customized cohort where LCISD leaders created and vetted the applications with an intentional focus on employees seeking to fill our high-need teacher vacancy areas. LCISD has funded this effort using current teacher vacancy money. Candidates for this program must not only meet the admissions requirements for iTeach, but they were also required to certify in LCISD identified content areas, to stay on track with course completion, to attend mandatory LCISD learning sessions, and they signed an agreement to teach with us for 3 years upon completion of the program. The candidates in this program are currently employed by LCISD as paraprofessional instructional aides, attendance clerks, receptionists, administrative assistants, and substitute teachers. Preliminary results of our first LCISD iTeach cohort are promising. With 39 initial applicants, 15 met the admission requirements. Each of these candidates are certifying in the high-need vacancy areas, including 8 in special education, 5 in EC through 6 core, 1 in CTE, and 1 in art. Through this cohort model, we have been able to inject LCISD high standards and learning connections. For example, in February, participants completed the iTeach course 5300 called Planning for Instruction and Assessment. Upon completion, they attended an LCISD learning experience where Katie Marchena, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, shared with them the LCISD instructional handbook and showed them examples of LCISD curriculum and lesson plans. With a comprehensive selection process, the high quality of iTeach courses, and the LCISD embedded learning connections, these 15 candidates will make exceptional LCISD teachers for this upcoming school year. And I'm proud to share that they're actually with us today. Please join me in encouraging and congratulating these staff members and future LCISD teachers. Applications for the next cohort will go out in September with plans to start again in January of 2024. The goal for this next cohort is to admit 50 aspiring teachers who will be eligible to hire as early as March 2024, giving us a jump start on the next school year. As successful and exciting as this initial rollout of our teacher certification cohort has been, I'd be amiss not to mention a significant and unexpected challenge we faced this year. The test of English as a foreign language, also known as the TOEFL test, is a state requirement mandating that any candidate with a bachelor's degree from a non-English dominant country pass this test in order to be admitted into any Texas teacher certification program. For our current cohort, 16 of the applicants were not eligible to enroll because they either couldn't pass or couldn't afford the $235 testing fee. Our solution to bridge this gap for future cohorts is to partner with the LCISD Accelerated Language Department and provide in-person and online language support this summer and fall that specifically addresses the reading, writing, listening, and speaking criteria of the TOEFL. We're hopeful that this targeted support will help make the Texas teacher certification more accessible to our increasingly diverse community. The last initiative.
Let me add one thing to that, Ms. Vincent, please.
Yes, sir.
Because I just want to, be clear. We have men and women in our auxiliary positions, bus drivers, child nutrition, custodial services, who in our home country are actually architects, doctors, and lawyers. But because of that test and the language barrier, they're not able to get those credentials. And so I'm really excited about this piece, because if we can help them with the language barrier and the test, this is going to open us up even more to exposing our students now to folks from the career field. And it's exciting. That's the best way I can say it. It's exciting. But we have folks that are right now in the high schools and our schools cleaning the building who are doctors and lawyers and architects in their home country. And so we're going to help them move forward.
Thank you. The last initiative launched by LCISD Talent Development this school year was our doctoral cohort. This initiative is in response to the high interest among LCISD leaders to pursue this highest level degree and conduct research to support the systems and best practices in our district. With consideration to the partnership agreement and high-quality learning experience of Grand Canyon University that we had already vetted for our bachelor's cohort, we launched an LCISD doctoral cohort less than a month ago on March 23rd. GCU recently informed us that we are officially the largest school district doctoral cohort in the history of their university. The 15 LCISD doctoral candidates include 4 campus teachers and coaches, 2 assistant principals, 3 campus principals, and 6 district leaders, including 1 director of talent development. The scholarship savings for the GCU partnership for this doctoral cohort alone or over $160,000. As I wrap up this part of the presentation, it's important to note that LCISD is the land of opportunity. For those in the audience and those watching online, if you have ever considered joining Team LCISD, now is the time. Come as you are. Whether you're joining us as a member of our auxiliary team, clerical support, instructional support, our substitute teachers, a teacher, or even district or campus leadership, we have openings and we have opportunities to grow. For more information on any of the programs I mentioned tonight, or to inquire about current job openings, check out the careers page on our LCISD website and come grow with us. Thank you. All right, now we're going to transition to my colleague, Dr. John Maxwell, who will present some additional staff support initiatives.
Thank you to the future Dr. Vincic. Thank you so much. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Nivens. Tonight I'm going to give an overview of the Houston Galveston Institute staff supports that Lamar CISD is rolling out for the remainder of the school year and into the future. To provide some background, LCISD has partnered with HGI for the past 5 years, but their services have been focused on student needs. These needs include when students are struggling with stress, anxiety, fear, depression, and other situations that impede the student's success. Students are identified by teachers, counselors, or administrators as possibly needing some additional supports in these areas, and then are referred to HGI through the counselors. Counselors then discuss what HGI does with the parents to gain consent before any sessions occur. Every campus has access to the HGI services in either telehealth options or face-to-face services. As a district, we are wanting to provide similar services for our staff, as we know they are going through similar situations with dealing with stress, anxiety, and possible burnout. HGI and LCISD is setting up a walk-in virtual clinic. Most of us are familiar with walk-in clinics where you go in without an appointment for minor physical ailments. This is the system we are wanting to mirror for staff when they're going through situations where they need some extra support when dealing with stressful or anxious times, either from work-related or home-related situations. These sessions will be confidential, and the staff members' usage of the system will be anonymous. Access to HGI will be from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. to allow for staff members to utilize it either before, during, or after school hours. The goal is to have a 30-minute session with follow-up if requested by the staff member or recommended by the HGI therapist. As a reminder, the focus on short-term care, and if the therapist believes that staff members need long-term care, they will work with the staff members to identify those options. This is just like going into a walk-in clinic, but if there are more serious issues, they recommend you to see a specialist. These services are funded through local funds as well as generous grants earned by LCISD, as I will discuss the funding at the end of this presentation. HGI is the leader in collaborative therapy, which means they work with their clients on what they want to work on, to achieve what they want to achieve, or change what they want to change. HGI is purely about their clients, listening, asking questions, exploring ideas, and finding solutions. HGI's style of therapy has seen a high rate of success, with their clients reporting that what they accomplished in therapy continues to change their lives on a more permanent basis instead of only temporary. HGI counseling encompasses the services that trained professionals provide to clients who seek help in dealing with issues that affect their lives. According to the American Psychology Association, those issues can include personal problems or issues of a behavioral, emotional, marital, vocational, rehabilitative, educational, or life stage nurture. These services can also include life coaching. Life coaching can help individuals in different areas of their life, but because each human being is different, so are their goals. Oftentimes, life coaching supports clients in personal and professional arenas. This means career, personal development, relationships, nutrition, divorce, grief, and even financial wellness. Here are just a few examples of what life coaching can involve, such as improving productivity and focus, improving overall work performance, improved collaboration and teamwork skills, or even focus on better leadership and management skills. As a reminder, HGI is focused on non-crisis supports for staff members. If an HGI therapist determines that a staff member may be in crisis, they will refer the staff member to human resources regarding a crisis situation. Then a representative from HR will go to the campus to visit with the employee to determine if it is necessary to contact the Fort Bend County Crisis Team or provide the EAP information. The district crisis team may be called in if necessary. The crisis team will further assess the employee's situation and determine if the employee needs to be transported to a facility. During this visit with the employee, information is obtained to assess the employee if a leave of absence is necessary. Human Resources and Benefits will continue to assist the employee throughout the duration of any time off. So for the pilot, LCI has conducted a survey with staff members to determine interest in these types of supports, and from the results, the purple track had the highest interest rates. Thus, the district will be piloting the program for the remainder of the school year with all campuses on the purple track. HGI has hired 4 therapists to support the campuses, and services became available April 17th. During the summer, HGI will recruit and hire therapists for the entire district, providing access for all staff members in the beginning of the 23-24 school year. The costs for the staff supports from HGI are shown on the slide. For the pilot, all of these funds, the $76,000, are from ESSER funds, which were allocated for staff supports. For the 23-24 school year, $268,800 would come from the local district budget. For the 24-25 and 25-26 school year, $150,000 would be budgeted to come out of the local district budget, respectively. The remaining funds to cover the program would come from grants awarded to the district. Now, on a different kind of an area is we're also researching how to provide a clinic for staff members. This focus would allow staff members to have access to checkups, diagnoses, wellness information, filling prescription in a quick manner, so that staff could complete these during a planning period or a short amount of time to get back to work without needing to take a full or half day off to meet those requirements. And with that, we'll entertain any questions.
That was a very impressive presentation all the way around, and you know, we're going to add 30,000 kids in the next 10 years, and so it's so good to see that there's long-range planning and there's real intentionality behind what we're doing, and specifically, we're growing from within and providing advancement opportunities to our employees. It's great. And then the next piece of it is just providing as many supports as we can for teachers and for staff. And so I think it's all wonderful. I appreciate you putting this together for us. Ms. Danziger and then Mr. Welch.
Well, it is very impressive because I'm thinking there could be someone in the cafeteria or driving a bus right now that in the future could have their doctorate and be through our program, and I'm ready to see that person. So that's very exciting to see. And over the past year or two, there's been people that I know that wanted to teach, and their hardest thing is passing some of the state tests. And they're not all in our district. And I said, well, our district supports. So people want that support, come, because I see that we're trying to make that difference. Now, I was going to ask a question of what you brought up with the language. Is that something new that, or has that been there all the time?
No, ma'am, that's been a consistent requirement, and actually it's a requirement for many businesses. It's not just education.
Okay, that they must pass a test if they, even though they might have their, even a master's degree, but not from our universities.
We have one right now who applied, who's a nurse practitioner in her home country, but she's struggling to pass the TOEFL test to become a teacher in our country, which is why we're putting in the supports, working with our ALP department to put in the supports to help our folks become proficient in English.
And it's basically because of language barrier, not because of the
Yes, ma'am.
content of the test. Yeah, we need to fix that, but thank you, and those are impressive, and I know I've talked to Dr. Nivens on more than one occasion when he first came here that we need to support our staff physically and emotionally because the stress is out there, and we want them doing their job, but we don't want them to break under the stress. So I appreciate what we're doing for them too. Thank you.
Did you say, ma'am, that the cost for a para who does not have a bachelor's degree would be $16,800 to enroll in the program to get a bachelor's degree?
That is not the total cost. That is the cost after transfer hours. That's the average cost of the 30-something that we have enrolled currently. Currently, GCU accepted 1,000 transfer hours, so that's the cost to complete their degree.
And those individuals would just be responsible for funding themselves through that?
Yes, sir.
And if a person already has a bachelor's degree, but not the teacher certification, that is funded through the district through salaries that we're not paying because of vacancies. Is that,
Yes,
did
sir.
I understand that correctly?
That's correct.
Thank you. Dr. Maxwell, the fees that you showed, can you go back to that?
Yes,
like
sir.
One or two slides? There was a big jump there in 2023 to 24 compared to the other years. And so I was just curious about that.
So if you're looking at overall cost, if you put the two together of the local funds and the grant funds, that's the amounts that come through. And so we're also remembering that we want to put enough of our skin in the game too to help with the grant funds, showing that this is something that LCISD is wanting to do. This is the vision of LCISD to support staff.
Appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you so much for all the effort that you're putting in there to making sure that our staff are equipped and can get to where they want to go. And to our new teachers that we'll be having in the back, congratulations. Welcome. That's exciting for y'all, and I want to celebrate y'all. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, trustees, next we have our LCISD safety update. So up first to the microphone, we'll have Interim Chief Johnson.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Nivens, thanks for letting me update you on the police department. I want to give you some details on our current staffing, some goals for next school year, and some information on some of the services we provide currently. There may be details in this that are kind of vague. That's intentional, but welcome to discuss that in closed session. Currently, the police department has 32 sworn officers, 33 with a chief. This includes the chief, a lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and a K-9 unit. This currently allows us to have a police officer assigned to all junior highs, high schools, and 1 for every 2 elementaries. By the start of the next school year, our staffing goal is the hiring of additional police officers for complete elementary campus coverage, an officer as a money courier, an additional K-9 officer, field supervisors who will be assigned to campuses. This plan will place a police officer at all elementary campuses, as well as high schools and junior highs. Why is the money courier position essential? Currently, we have 4 officers that split courier service. This duty takes them away from their assigned campuses, which is not ideal for the safety of staff and students. Utilizing grants for our department has allowed us to expand operations and provide top-of-the-line equipment and technology for our officers. In the near future, the police department would like to utilize grant funds to create a crisis intervention team to quickly respond to the needs of students and staff that are in distress or a mental health crisis. Officer Jones, West, and Noto all came to us from security positions in LCISD. This was a plan to help the police department increase staffing with the goals of having a police officer in all our schools. 3 more security guards are currently scheduled to come over for the start of the next school year. During the 87 legislative session, the state provided no-ink fingerprint kits for every K through 7 student in Texas. The kits will be available upon request and are similar to a trifold pamphlet, allowing you to document your child's physical description, record an inkless fingerprint, and place a saliva sample in the kit. This will be utilized for missing children. Parents will keep all this information, and the kit will stay at home with the family. Our current K-9 is trained in narcotics and gunpowder detection. Our current K-9 team, Officer Edge and Jumbo, we're in the back there, have 140 deployments for the current school year with over 6,000 areas searched and 12 seizures. The K-9 unit also presents to students in the district. We plan to add a second K-9 unit for this upcoming school year. Officer Edge has secured a vehicle kennel from DPS to assist us in making this happen. This K-9 will also be trained for narcotics and gunpowder as well. Most importantly, Rocky and Shannon Smith of K9officers.org are on board and have been outstanding partners putting our K-9 program together and keeping it up and running. The police department conducts home visits and parent contacts on all reported threats and mental health crisis events, even if it's after school hours. We have conducted over 80 home visits for the current year. Our primary goal is the safety of students and staff and to partner with the parents to make this happen. We also offer gun locks donated by Project Child Safe upon request. This number will increase as LCISD has added technology such as Gaggle and other monitoring services that alert us to student emails, social media threats, and other concerning posts. We currently partner with Fort Bend County's CIT unit, and they're essential in assisting us with mental health evaluations and transports for our students and staff. They are a huge part of how we deal with mental health as a police department. The LCISD employees were trained in CRAZE this year, as well as SRM, with an emphasis on 2 locations in LCISD as reunification sites for the district. Officers were sent to train the trainer courses in alert, first responder medical, alert air. We wanted to in-house our training so this could be done frequently and within the district schedule. The police department trains in many areas to support student safety. We train intensely during the summer and when students are not in school. These are just some of the classes that we put on or attend. We train so much and we train the way we do and so often and so intense. So if something ever happened at one of our campuses, we could respond like the heroes from Nashville Metro PD. They responded in 14 minutes to a rural area and were able to engage the suspect and end the threat, which is an amazing video if you haven't seen it. It's a little intense, but they did a wonderful job, and I would hope that with all the training and everything that we do, that's how we would respond. We're not just police officers, we're teachers and mentors as well. An example is Officer Lee Allen Weisheimer, who do a community service project with the criminal justice students and train these students in Skill USA competitions. They have produced back-to-back state champions in building search this year and were 22 state champions in felony traffic stops. Our officers also put on classes for our students throughout the year. Some examples are Now That You're a 10, which we do in elementaries, Interaction with Police, which is a teen driving course for the high schools, and career fairs and anything else that the district or the officers think would benefit us. I now turn this over to Dallas Warren for an update on state mandate compliance.
Thank you. Good evening, Board and Dr. Nivens. Anytime there's an identified risk in the district, we apply 5 different protocols. That's prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Now, safety and security, our team predominantly works in the first 3 of those. We work to prevent the threat from occurring. We try to mitigate the danger from that threat, and we prepare our staff on how to respond. Currently, I conduct safety and security audits for all of our instructional facilities. This includes intruder audits. This is an attempt to find a way into our campus that bypasses our normal protocols and entry into the building. conduct exterior assessments. This is where we look at signage, lighting, camera coverage, and fencing, among other things, to try to prevent and mitigate risk to our campuses. The interior assessments include, again, looking at cameras, camera placement and coverage, looking at the availability of external defibrillators on the campus, first aid kits, making sure that high-risk areas in that campus, such as our maintenance facilities, are closed and secured, making sure that our classroom doors are locked and secured at all times, and making sure that our life safety systems, our fire and intrusion alarms, are operating properly. In addition, we do compliance assessments, which is basically just making sure that our staff understand what our safety protocols are and making sure that they're following those properly. In addition, I review campus response plans and assist new campus administrators in development of campus emergency response plans. You know, TEA and the state legislature are continually raising standards for districts, and it's our responsibility to identify those changes and work on meeting those requirements as they approach. Safety and security is a resource to our campus administrators, and so that they can contact us at any time and get immediate answers to their questions or risk concerns that they have on their campus. We've established a Safety Standards Committee. This committee is formed in the bond office and brings together the bond team, academics, maintenance, technology, and our safety team to establish district-wide safety standards so that we can apply those to new facilities as they're built and then retrofit all of our existing facilities to any new standards that are developed. One of the things that is critically important is that we keep our campuses secure. One of the new TEA standards now require all schools to conduct weekly documented door sweeps of all exterior doors to ensure that they're closed, locked, and secure. We are required to make that sweep data available to state inspectors upon request. What you see up here is a snapshot of an application that we are developing in-house with our technology department to track that technology or track those tests. We begin field testing this application this week with Phelan Elementary and other districts across other campuses across the district. To give an example, elementary campuses have an average of 30 to 40 doors. Secondary campuses have between 60 and 85 doors. When you look at over 50 campuses in this district, that is a huge number of doors that we have to keep track of. Now, the first two numbers on this screen are the total number of doors on this particular campus, which means it's 64 doors, so you know this is a secondary campus. Now, this is just test data, it's not actual data on a campus. It's put up here for explanation. So when the first two numbers total the doors, if it's green, that means the door is past its inspection, it's closed, locked, and secure. If it's red, that means it failed. There's only two reasons why a door will fail. It's either a human error or mechanical error. So whenever there's a mechanical error, that means the locks are broken, the door won't close, or there's some other mechanical issue with that door. This application will immediately notify and send an email to the principal, letting him know he has a problem on that campus with that particular door. And an email is also sent to our maintenance team so that they can immediately start working to correct that issue with that door. And of course, if it's a human error, then again, the campus principal will get that email, and then they will investigate to determine what caused that mistake, why the door was left open or propped open, and take appropriate disciplinary action or corrective action. Campus administrators will be responsible for conducting the sweeps on their campus. I've also included examples of two different emails down here at the bottom. One of them is the daily sweep report, which I and the campuses will receive, showing that they have any campus that has not completed the required inspection will receive a notice at least once a week. And then the other one is the email that is sent to the principal showing that that inspection was conducted and they have passed successfully. And I will now turn it over to David Pollard, who has some additional initiatives.
Good evening, Board Trustees. President Hunt, Dr. Nivens. I'm here this evening to highlight some of our district safety and security standards. First off, we have established and designated a single point of entry for every campus. All visitors are screened and designated and given some form of credentialing through our visitor management system. All classroom doors are to remain closed and secured during instruction. All campus exterior doors are to remain closed and secure unless physically manned by a adult staff member. Ongoing district campus safety and security audits are being assessed and continued. Our district emergency operations plan, active threat annex, active shooter review have all been completed and vetted by the Texas School Safety Center. All students, visitors, and also volunteers are required to visibly wear their LCISD badge or credential at all times. Intruder locks are installed on all interior classroom doors. We consistently, and I'm proudly say that we consistently execute monthly drills at our campuses, which is our standard response protocol drills, which include secure, lockdown, evacuate, shelter, and hold. We ensure accessibility to a district voice over IP telephone in every classroom. In no emergency situation do we want signal strength or Android versus iPhone to be a barrier impacting communication or response time. We maintain video surveillance for campus, facility, and bus transportation monitoring. By district standard, every campus is constructed now with a vestibule. Also, screening of social media platforms and notification of potential threats remain a district priority. Sky Alert notifications are initiated to inform our parents or guardians of safety or security incidents or concerns. In conclusion, I want to thank you, Board of Trustees. Thank you, Dr. Nivens, Cabinet, for being very much intentional about safety and security being a priority in this district. So many times I'm involved in other trainings or with other districts, and you know, no knock on them because they're where they're at, but yeah, we're at a good place, but we're here to get better. And we continue to pursue other innovative platforms and ideas and best practices to do so. I want to thank our first responders in partnership with our local emergency response teams and other emergency responders in this area for their partnership. Thank you, parents. We need you. It takes a village to truly raise and circle arms around our children. And before I dare not lead a podium without thanking our students. Thank you for those that have had the courage to come forth and see something and say something. For those of you that maybe feel some kind of way and you've communicated that. I used to take the stance that, you know, if our kids go home like they came, that's good. But Dr. Nivens and this leadership has really challenged us and demanded we be great. And so with that said, to our students who may be watching this riveting meeting, I want you to know that you are destined, we speak life into you, to be great. And so that's the way we want you to go home. Any questions?
Well said. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the safety and security team, all of our officers. I wanted to follow up on one thing that Interim Chief Johnson mentioned, that, you know, I had watched that Nashville body cam, and it was very difficult to watch, but it also showed those officers were heroes, and it made me recall what happened, and thankfully it was a hoax on our George Ranch campus, but our officers that entered the building at that time didn't know that, and they were on campus within minutes, clearing classrooms and protecting our students. As a parent, that was very reassuring, and those officers, our officers, showed that same level of bravery. So I thank you all. Mr. Welch.
I just want to reiterate what I've said in this room many times, is safety is as important to me as academics in this district. And I really applaud you and your team, and Interim Chief Johnson, you and your team, all of you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys almost as much as the teachers, and I don't know if I can say that as much, but I really want to give y'all all the necessary equipment and funding that you need. I have a wooden American flag in where I live with the badge of the department, so I appreciate you.
Thank you, Trustee Welch.
I want to say thank you to our officers and our people that are stepping up to help make sure that our students have the safest learning environment ever. And an urge to parents to monitor their kids. It seems like there's threats that are thankfully not warranted or not, there's no substance, it's just words. But those are still just words that are unnecessary in our districts, and they don't have a place in our district. So asking for, in regards to safety and security, asking for our parents to take responsibility for their kids regarding safety and security, to know what's on their kids' social media. I'm thankful that as a district, we have services that will monitor that. But asking for, parents, we have to know what our kids are talking about and who our kids are talking to, and making sure that our kids, to put that pressure on our kids to create a safe space. But as parents, we have to be able to step up and do that and advocate for safety for my own kids. So as other parents are coming and getting involved, and I get the privilege of serving on our Safety and Security Committee with these bravest people that I know, and we have people from the Sheriff's and Office of Emergency Management and all these other agencies coming together. So just a challenge to parents of knowing what our kids are saying, knowing how our kids are feeling, and whenever our kids do make a threat, accepting that responsibility for that choice that student made. So.
And I just want to say, it feels like just yesterday we formed our own police department. I think it's only been, 3 years, and look how far we've come. Look how much we are doing. I think we are above everybody else. I visit other school districts, and they're nowhere near where we are. And I know that's because it is a top priority, but you have the support of the board, you have the support of the community, and we thank you for all that you do for our students and our staff and for everyone that tries to make LCISD great. But it's a lot of work, and it seems like we just keep rolling it out. Oh, let's do this. Okay, we can do that. And we figure out a way to get it done, and I thank you.
Thank you.
And also, we kind of glazed over it, but we are trying next school year to have an officer at every single campus. And so for all the effort that went into, that was supposed to be spaced out over time. And so for the effort on the budgeting side and realizing that it's not just a salary that it costs, there's vehicles and there's equipment and shields and there's everything that will come along with that. So the fact that as a police force that we are saying, our kids' safety, and we're going to have, the goal is to have one on every single campus.
We do have some campuses with their own police, correct? There are a few elementaries.
Yes, ma'am. We have a police officer at every high school and junior high, and currently 1 per every 2 elementaries.
And there's not some elementaries that have their own? Not at all?
Beasley has their
Yes.
own, and a couple others.
Okay,
But
because I knew there were a few.
That's generally the way
Because
it's
they're
working
on the
right now.
outskirts of the district.
Yes, ma'am.
And hard to get to quickly. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, trustees, time for our bond update.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Nimitz. Tonight, we will bring forth a bond update, and we changed the structure as of last month. So these are 3 projects that were completed since the last board meeting. The first one is the Austin Elementary Security Vestibule is open. That's a picture of the super graphics that are inside the front office. Second project is we had the 8 buses. They have arrived, those Bluebird buses, and they've been deployed within our transportation department, and it affects all tracks. The last one is George Junior High School. The roof was completed, so it's 100% complete at that campus. These, we also have our technology projects. We have the portables at Fulsher and Lehman Junior High, And then we've completed the upgrades in our blue track secondary campuses. So our current active projects that we have, Terrell Elementary School is planned to open this fall, but it will be opening up, just reminding the board, as Roberts Middle School for the 22-23 school year. Adrian Gray Elementary School is planned to be opening up this fall as well. Willie Melton Senior Elementary School, which is in Jordan Ranch, it has got utility work going on along with the pier drilling at that site. Viola Randall's in Cross Creek. It is a block north of Lehman, and you can see the few trenches that they're doing. They've already got the piers drilled, and they're starting the footer for the foundation. James Steenbergen Middle School, it's located on the Randall and Wright campus. They've already got all the piers done. They've already done some footers, and you can see in the green area, that is the foundation that they're prepping to pour on that area of the building. And they also have some of the parking lot poured as well. Briscoe Junior High, we're entering our orchestra room, so we have a lot of orchestra rooms that are going up. That is the dirt work and foundation work going on at Briscoe Junior High School. That is the dirt work at Foster High School. Also at the Foster High School, we have the water well. We had to put a blue arrow on it there's not much. They've drilled the hole in there and they've got it casing and they're waiting it to start the next part of the phase of that water well. At George Junior High, they have an orchestra room. They're doing dirt work along with utilities. This is George Ranch High School and Reading Junior High School. Both of these are orchestra rooms as well. Meyer Elementary School, we have a new entrance as we're developing the security vestibule in front of that campus. This is at Navarro Middle School. We've had to pour a sidewalk and make a new front entrance for there as well. Along with Taylor Ray Elementary, we poured a sidewalk down the adjacent side of the building so that we can continue to work on the front vestibule. Terry High School is getting a brand new roof, so they're pulling all the tar and gravel off of that building and then relaying down a new roof system. Lehman Junior High School, you can see the yellow area. That is them already prepping to pour the foundation for the orchestra room addition. Along with the 8 buses that we currently have and deployed, we received another 10. The first set was Bluebirds. These are internationals. So probably within the next 30 days, we'll be able to take these buses, get them registered, and get them out and operational within our fleet as well. This is our bond inflation coverage that was part of the 22 bond. On this second page, this is the total of 11 new projects that have proceeded. So since the last time the board has met, we've added 11 additional projects that have proceeded because of that bond inflation. On our technology side, we're still working on our fiber redundancy to all our campuses, and this is a list of our camera upgrades for our other secondary campuses. We also have phone systems along with cabling within the schools themselves, access control, and Windstream migration. We have a total of 817 student laptops that are being deployed at those campuses, the Wertheimer Middle School cafeteria projector, and then our flat panel replacement schedules for those elementary schools and secondary schools listed. Upcoming projects, we currently don't have any upcoming projects within the next 30 days at this point in time. So just to remind the board, an upcoming project is one that you will see active work within that project. We have a lot of them in the design and bidding process, but in the next 30 days, we won't see any additional activity other than we presented here. But this is our dashboard that gets updated monthly, depending on our projects and what phases they are within those projects.
What projects do you anticipate starting this summer? Off the top of your head.
There are quite a few. One is we have some safety and security upgrades. Those will be paramount that we're looking at launching in the next 30 days to this summer, along with high school additions. We hope to have those started this summer. Fingers crossed, Secondary Complex 7, which is Tomas High School, Banks Junior High School, Middle School 7, and then our designs. So those are the construction ones that we can think of off the top of my head that will be actually breaking ground, along with getting community members together as we start to do our new prototypes.
You still anticipate that the high school additions at Fulsher, Foster, George Ranch,
In Randall.
Randall.
Yes, sir.
Are all expected to begin this summer?
That's correct.
Okay.
As of right now, our schedule has them breaking ground in June, along with Secondary Complex 7 will break somewhere in the month of June as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we'll have reports and presentations on the future action items. Dr. Nivens.
All right, trustees, this is a future action item for budget and related information. So Ms. Lovewood will come up, our CFO. And at the end of this, we'll discuss what action we're requesting the board to take at the May meeting.
Sounds good. Good evening again, Board of Trustees and Dr. Nivens. Mainly, I'll be focusing on the general fund tonight, even though you will receive information at future meetings about the debt service fund and the child nutrition fund as well. Tonight, I'll talk a little bit about our budget calendar and where we stand with that, our budgetary assumptions for the 23-24 budget, and also give you a preliminary estimate of next year's budget. So with respect to our calendar, in February, we met with our board budget and Finance Committee to discuss budget priorities for next year. We've all received our demographic update and updated the financial plan with respect to enrollment projections and developing our staffing needs. We've also met with campuses and departments to discuss budget processes, and they've entered their information into our system. And we've also done benefit and payroll estimates. And, you know, those are constantly changing, of course, based on enrollment growth and staffing guidelines. In March, the campuses and departments entered their budgets into Munis, which is our finance system. And this month, we are actually reconciling and reviewing all the campus and department budget entry. Cabinet is talking about funding requests and those things that support ongoing programs and strategic objectives, and also looking at raise scenarios. We have calculated revenue estimates for next year, and also expecting preliminary estimates of property values from the Fort Bend Central Appraisal District. And actually, incidentally, at 6:29 tonight, we got our first estimate. And that always happens. Right before we have a meeting, we get new estimates. But anyway, so now we're looking forward to going back and doing updates to these calculations. But it actually does look good. It looks close, so I'm happy about that. Our assumptions in the budget, we're using a 12% growth rate. And like I say, based on the chief appraiser's estimates, it looks like we'll be fairly close to 12%. In here, we have a homestead exemption amount of $40,000. As you have probably heard, there's bills filed in the legislature right now that they're reviewing to go up to $70,000. Even though we would lose tax revenue that way, the state makes up that money, and for the most part, it's almost 100% wash, not quite though. We're using a tax collection rate of 99%. And we are using the same rules and regs for tax rate compression that have been in place, but the state can always change the compression rates, and that would change the ratios between what the local taxpayers pay and what the state pays. Our basic allotment that we're using in our projections is $6,160 per ADA. There are some bills to increase that to $6,250 and other various scenarios. We're using a slight increase in weighted ADA values, and those are for the special programs. And then we're also using the 2023 PASA moderate growth scenario with a 94.5% attendance rate. Their moderate projection showed us at a little over 45,000 enrollment next year, which is a growth rate of 6%. If you'll recall, PASA had recommended that we use their high growth scenario, but then lowered it and then recommended that we use moderate. We also had a second demographer do some projections as well, and theirs came in slightly lower than PASA, so we feel comfortable with the moderate projection. The enrollment as of last week on April 13th was a little over 43,000 kids, So we are definitely on track. We're 1,108 students over the last year's PASA moderate projection. As far as calculating our tax revenue, we are looking at about $230 million based, and then as far as the other large category of revenue in the general fund, which is state aid, as I mentioned, we're using enrollment of 45,000 students, which at 94.5% attendance gives us an ADA of 42,561 roughly students. And when you calculate all the pieces and parts of the revenue formula, it yields $181.9 million or so. We are also taking out 15% of the fast growth allotment to allow for proration, which we've experienced in the past, and that equates to $4.2 million. So our state funding estimate is $177.7 million. So looking at all the revenue categories, local revenues, mainly property taxes, yields $233.7 million, about $200 million from the state, and $3.425 million from federal sources, mainly SHARS revenue, which is our Medicaid program. So total revenues are projected at $436.8 million. Moving on to expenditures and the assumptions we're using in the projection there. We are looking at hiring 140 additional teachers, possibly more to accommodate the growth that we're seeing. We have estimated substitute pay rate increases, which I'll cover more in detail later. Pay grade table adjustments for instructional paraprofessionals. Central services staff increases to support campuses, and then 18 additional police officers to get us closer to a 1-to-1 ratio. If this is approved, we will try to post and hire the officers prior to the start of next school year. In the budget, we've also added the cost for opening new schools, which is mainly staffing costs, but there's some other costs as well. We've included a 3% average raise scenario. That would be a flat raise for those people paid according to the teacher hiring schedule, and a percentage of midpoint for all other positions. The estimated cost for a 1% raise for those paid according to the teacher schedule is $1.9 million, and the pay grade table's $800,000. So if I go through how we build the budget, we start with the current year adopted budget. So the 22-23 adopted budget was $397 million. And then we add to it all the new pieces that'll occur for next year. So for new campus staffing, for Gray for the full year, plus mid-year hires for mainly administrative staff for Terrell, Randall, Melton, and Steenbergen, we're looking at $1.8 million. The 140 teachers will be $10.8 million. Then we are looking at the staffing summary, and that yields, based on staffing guidelines, $783,460 for campuses, and then campus support a little over $2 million. We're adding a mariachi band teacher for $77,000, ISS aides for a little over $200,000, and then adding back hall monitors for security for $328,000. The substitute daily rate increase that I mentioned is, and I'll go into more detail later on this too, is looking at an additional $15, $10, and $5 based on the classification they're in. So that'll cost $650,000. An increase of $1 per hour for all instructional paraprofessionals will be right at $823,000. The 18 police officers, which I'll go into more detail about this as well, as $1.424 million. A security compliance director for $147,000. Student services coordinator positions for almost $200,000. Administrative assistant, $41,000. The 3% average raise, which is a flat raise for teacher salary schedules, and a 3% of midpoint for all others, That's about 8.2 million combined. And then benefits increases based on these salaries, we've added 5.5 million. And then a couple other programs, which would be hiring retirees for teaching positions, and then part-time positions also, adding benefits for those. That's about another 130,000. Based on enrollment, we will add additional per pupil allocations for supplies and materials of about 300,000. Department allocations due to growth, those increase mainly, some of the big things are for maintenance agreements and licenses and things like that in the technology area that are based on per student costs, will increase 2.1 million. Utilities increase is 1.3 million, and then the equipment for the police officers that I mentioned earlier, about 360,000. So with all of those combined, it totals to $37.2 million for a total expenditure budget of $434.3 million. And that's like I said, our estimate as of now. And all these are subject to change, and they do change pretty much daily. Total revenue of $436.8 compared to expenditures of $434.3. That gives us roughly $2.5 million in excess revenue. So the proposed expansion of the police department and the compensation increases are what I want to cover next. The board budget committee made safety and security of staff and students a #1 priority for next year, and to add 18 new police officers to the police department. The budget committee also made salary increases a top priority, and that was to maintain staff and also competitive salaries. The starting teacher salary next year, pending board approval. Of course, all of these are pending board approval. Teacher starting salary will be $62,500. The teachers paid on the teacher salary schedule would receive a flat raise of $1,950, which is an average of 3%, and then all other staff would be 3% of midpoint. A little more detail on the police officers. We have 44 campuses, and we have 28 officers right now, so we would need 16 more. So you'll see some of those will be hired at officer rates, 10, and then 6 at the sergeant rate. We will be adding another K-9 and a courier officer for the other 2 positions, totaling the $1.424 million. And then there's your $360,000 again for the uniforms and equipment. So the total is about $1.8 million. As far as vehicles, we haven't talked about vehicles yet. We will need 46 more vehicles. We have 34. We have 2 in place, 12 on order. So we need 12 more that are completely outfitted at a cost of $66,000 each, roughly $800,000 for 12 vehicles. We are seeking grants with Henderson-Wessendorf and the George Foundation for those. So the future action items for the board. Again, Board Budget Committee stressed the safety and security of our facilities, and also a timeline to hire officers prior to the start of school next year. Also made salary increases a top priority, and the raises that I mentioned earlier. Teacher salary schedule would start at $62,500, a flat raise of $1,950 for teachers, and all other staff at 3% of midpoint. In the area of substitutes and instructional paraprofessionals, we're looking at a $15 a day increase in our current rate for certified substitutes, $10 for degreed, and $5 per day for non-degreed subs. And then that hour increase in the hourly rate for instructional paraprofessionals, which have their own pay grade table, in addition to the 3% midpoint raise that I talked about earlier. We also have, we will request the approval for 18 additional police officers plus the necessary equipment. and the authority to hire before the start of school, which will have a small impact on this year's budget. We will ask for approval to add the raises that I've spoken of, the increases for subs, and also the increase in the hourly rate for instructional paras. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Wow. Is this earlier? Are we trying to push out the budget earlier so that we can approve it before August? Because we've been doing that in the past, so that's why we're getting this now.
Yes, ma'am. As you recall, last year, I remember bringing to the board that we had some difficulties in retaining staff because it took us a while
Right.
before we let everyone know what our salaries were.
Right.
Even though, our budget year starts on September 1, it's behoove us. So what we did, we started our budgeting process earlier this year so we can come to that point. And so with Ms. Lovick and her team at the helm, I'm very confident in these numbers, unless we get an email like we did last year from TEA that says, we're cutting $20 million out of your budget. And so I don't foresee that happening this year, especially in the legislative session. So I'm very confident in these numbers that Ms. Lowe was presenting. But we are moving it earlier, so, people need to know exactly what to expect. Because we want to keep our top-notch staff.
Well, and I know that other districts approve their budgets sooner. Now, the 12% you were saying, is that, back when we were rolling out the bond, we kept saying we need to grow at least 8.5%. So you're saying that you look like we've at least done almost 12%. So we're staying within what we needed to do.
Just looking at things while we're in this meeting, it looks like it's somewhere around 11% or something like that.
So we're pretty much on target.
It's close, yeah.
And there was one other thing I was going to talk. And I think in the past, too, you've talked about that sometimes we get revenue during the summer. You find out more that we can collect more of our tax. And so more money could be on the way, or do you anticipate that in this budget?
Well, it looks, as far as the legislature and the legislative session goes, it looks good that there's at least discussions going on earlier in the session this time than in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll yield more money from the state.
Because I know that has been one of the reasons we would push it a little bit later, because we weren't ever sure of what we were going to get.
Right, and the 11% I mentioned earlier, that's also based on the chief appraiser's estimate of what the protests are going to
look like
this
Right.
summer. Last year, there were lots, and there could be a lot of protests this year as well. So,
Yeah, I got one. Okay.
It's all a moving target.
So, Dr. Nivens, are we going to be approving the budget? This is an estimate. Are we going to be approving the budget in August still? Is that what you anticipate?
The overall, but what we're asking preliminary, so in parts. So overall, what we're asking the board to do in May is to approve what Ms. Lowe just discussed, so we can roll out and the staff can know what the expected salary will be next year. And also, it'll give us permission to go ahead and hire the 18 officers and the equipment so we can get them on board before school starts. And then as the rest of the budgeting process happens and the leg session ends, then we'll come up with some more data and then we'll present some more information to the trustees for final approval. But we just kind of want to prove it in parts so we can go ahead and get moving.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Just to give some background on the, at least the additional police officer component of it, we had always had, well, not always, but we've had a plan for probably at least a year now to add additional officers so that there's one on every campus, including every elementary school campus. And in our most recent budget meeting, which is myself, Mr. Lambert, and Mrs. Williams, we recommended that we bring to the board moving up that timeline. And so in order to do that, that would need to be passed by this board before August, which is the reason that we're having to accelerate that part. But I think that's an important component, especially given what we've seen in the news lately, and our elementary schools need a full-time officer too.
And with the legislative session going on right now, and to everyone watching, I encourage them to email and send messages to our current legislators that are in committee right now about whether it's in debate, making the basic allotment larger or bigger, or just how to fully fund our education system. So with that said, I think we should all advocate for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if they just add about $100 to it, it'll bring us $4 million, so it'd be good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, are there any items on the future consent agenda that trustees would like to pull for discussion at the May board meeting? All right, hearing none, it's 9:24 p.m. We're adjourning to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082, the Open Meetings Act, to discuss personnel, land acquisition, or consultation with our attorney. we're now back in open session. It's 9:55 PM. We have a quorum. Are there any motions to be made?
I have a motion. I move that the Board of Trustees approve the action on the land as discussed in closed session.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lambert seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other motions? Mr. Welch.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the hiring of personnel as presented.
Is there a second? Ms. Danziger seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any further motions?
Yes, Mr. President. I move that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent's employment contract extension.
Is there a second? Mr. Welch seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Are there any further motions? Mr. Welch.
You're talking about for future meetings?
Are there any future agenda items the board would like to add?
Thank you very much. This is really an information item, not an agenda, an action item. I would like, in a similar way that we had an overview presented tonight of TASB and our relationship with TASB, I would like a presentation on discipline in our schools at different levels from pre-K to 12th grade, and just kind of an overview presentation of discipline in Lamar schools, since discipline of students seems to be an ongoing issue for all school districts throughout the country.
To be clear, you're talking about types and consequences issued?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other items? Are there any upcoming meetings or events?
Check your board calendar. No. We have Youth and Philanthropy. We have Teacher of the Year tomorrow night. We just have a lot coming up.
Sure do.
You're going to see us out and about in the community.
Yes, ma'am. All right, anything else? Very good. The meeting is adjourned. It is 9:58 PM.